half goat piece, guess what they did? They said, okay, we're going to make these shoes that make you look like you have hooves. That's therefore, like ladies, when you put them high heels on, you see that your foot, your toes, and everything, they go in, right? So when they go in, it's supposed to represent a hoof, and it made the guy's legs, right, the way he would stand, right, because men and women don't stand the same way. Men have to actually like do weird things to contort their body to be able to have the appearance of a woman, right? Men don't naturally switch, things like that, right? So, in order for them to keep the appearance, to have this appearance, when they designed it, it made the man do something weird, which is why when you see these weird things, you see him standing in certain ways, back arch, things like that. When you see like the Chronicles of Narnia, for example, and you'll see that stuff, right? Well, I'm not talking about Baphomet. Baphomet is actually somewhat a new creation in history. It's actually Baphomet's only like maybe 300-400 years old at tops. So we're talking about way back to the Greeks, right? As far as the way Baphomet looks, at least. But they were already doing this, and so they would have the man look like he would be standing because of the high heels, and the way it was, it forced him to have his knees do a certain thing, like goats and stuff did, and then he would have his hands, out in a certain way, and his back would be arched, and it was something that was supposed to be appealing, right, to men who like men. That's Greek gender. Remember, gender or jancha is something that causes you to gender. Literally, jancha, gender, actually means the style in which a people think that their male and females should live in. So that's the gender of Greeks, the genders of Romans. It was okay in Greek society to use the woman as nothing but a trophy wife, right? As somebody who was just there to be able to have your babies and represent you, and you were going to go ahead and mess around with dudes. That's where that came from. That's the DL piece, the download piece. But we don't know the source. So women to this day still trying to rock them high heels and got closets full of them and don't even recognize that there's a spirit attached to that thing, right? I'm not saying there's no African women that wear high heels now, but don't forget they were colonized. Before somebody came over to you, did you wear high heels? When you look at moccasins, do you find high heel moccasins? When you go to Africa, was it okay for a woman to wear flats, what we call flats now, slides now, stuff like that? Of course it was, because it's not your culture, but you're bringing on something and attaching yourself to it, and then trying to figure out why you got these issues. And so why high heels are appealing. Even the men that say that they're straight or are straight, why high heels are appealing is because that we've been taught in a society that to even be masculine as far as the shoes you wear makes you more attractive as a woman. So women started wearing high heels because they were tired of men going after men. They said, well, I'll wear the high heels myself. So in reality, I'm not saying I'd ever wear them because it's not our culture, right? But the reality is that the high heels are more masculine than they are feminine. That's like, ladies, that's why your feet hurt. That's why your back hurts, right? Your backs hurt. Your back. This is not something new. I'm saying, right? Y'all know, and scientific studies back it up. Just in case you're gonna be, but they don't hurt me, and I work them pumps, and I do this, and all these things you've heard over the years. I know pumps is an old archaic saying. Forgive me, I don't wear the shoes enough to know what people call them now, right? But I work all them things. I work these high heels, girl. Them heels is bad. Shoot, I'm dangerous in these heels. Yeah, but those heels are dangerous to your body. A lot of people don't even know that studies have been done that show that high heels are actually something that's dangerous to a woman's womb. Yeah, toes be messed up and everything. Looking like you playing basketball in them shoes. I got basketball toes. I know basketball toes are horrendous. You see what I'm saying? And the reason why we do this is not because it's something that's necessary. We do it because somebody else passed it down and they uphold a certain culture. And you don't recognize it even when you're part of that culture. You just go with the flow, right? Somebody tells you something, you've done it because they told you. We all have been influenced. That's why I was trying to tell the sister the other day that got all upset because I wasn't trying to say that just because somebody doesn't look like us means that they have to automatically be evil. Even comprehend. The person that might do the worst evil might actually think that their intent is righteous. I'm not saying it is, and I'm not saying we should be wary of it. I'm not saying we should let people that do evil into the camp, right? What I'm saying though is that, and I'm not saying we have a physical camp, but you get what I'm saying, right? Not into our society. However, let's be honest. There's a lot of things that we're carrying from other people, right? There's things we're carrying because other people told us these things. We're not carrying these things because they're righteous. We're carrying these things because other people told us. And now we're getting to this bad place. I talked about yesterday that we still need healing as a diaspora, and we're trying to heal through somebody else's prism, through somebody else's words, through somebody else's lens. Right? I'm a strong, independent black woman. Go read the Willie Lynch letter and see if you still want to be that. I'm a strong, independent black woman. Where does that come from? Did that come from you or somebody else? I'm not saying that you have no strength. See, and that's the thing that happens because then we get a feminist mentality that comes in. That's not even your mentality. That's white women trying to get their cut. And I mean white by the social construct, right? Exactly. We don't know who sent us or who sent the people to us, right? I'm a strong, independent black woman. That goes back to the times of slavery where they legit said that they were going to kill your men, your main chieftain in front of you. They were going to beat your men to the point of death. They were going to rip the one that they killed apart in front of you, showing you his phallus and everything. After that, they'd beaten him, tarred and feathered him, set him on fire, done all these things. Then they were going to rip him apart with two horses. When they set you on fire, they were going to then pull your man in the two directions. They were going to whip every other adult male or male they felt could be considered to be an adult. Basically, if you could have a child, they were going to whip them to the point of death in front of you. That's when you get to the plantation. That's when you come off the ship. That's when they got you from your tribe. They said we're going to immediately do those things. And then they said, once we finish with that, then they said the woman will therefore teach her children to be in reverse roles. And she will eat out of our hand like a female horse. That's what they thought of you. They'll eat out of her hand as a female horse will. And they will never think of their man as being anything powerful. And the man will always be around as a sniveling coward, basically, because you have been beaten. They said they beat you and whipped your man. They said they didn't even have to touch you. They said they beat your man into a place to where he was in a frozen, or I'm sorry, to where you were in a place of frozen independence. They said that you were going to be frozen. You were going to feel frozen. You were going to make moves because you were in a place of frozen independence. Legit. That was part of the culture. I'm sorry, what'd you say, babe? Oh, you're talking to somebody else. Oh, no. You said we have family in the house. I say on shit, royalty in the house. Yeah, yeah. I didn't know if you caught. I forgot to say that they were on. I didn't know if they were still on or not. But yeah, just came on. Amen. Okay, Fremo. I don't know what that means. Um, but you got to comprehend. Like they said they're gonna whip people in front of you, and then they said after that they said then they'll check the women. They said make sure every chance you get check the woman because why? She is the most important piece of this equation. If she has any fight back, it says if she will come against you as the master. The word master means teacher, by the way. So the owner does not always mean they're the master, and the master does not always mean they're the owner. But a lot of times they were running the program, and they said so you as the teacher you have to make sure any woman that challenges you, make sure you whip her. Don't whip her. Same thing though. Don't whip her. Don't beat her to death. Beat her to a place to where she might not come back from. Or I'm sorry, she won't come back with that same attitude. Don't beat her to where she'll die. Beat her to where you beat the mess out of her. And if she tries it again, you whip her again. She tries it again, you might RAP, you know what her. If she tries it again, right? Eventually, if it gets to the point to where you have enough women, maybe you need to kill one to make an example, right? But the woman was the most important thing. And they said we will beat everything around her to a place to where she will be in a frozen state of fear. That's what they said, straight up, right? Straight up. But we don't know this because we don't study this. Since we don't study this, we don't know this. The word K-N-O-W, it means what? It means to be intimate with. We're not intimate with that. So we go to Deuteronomy 28, verse 44 or so. You start reading there. That's Willie Lynch. He told you they studied you. How you doing, Minister Select Morel? They told you they studied you. You just didn't think that they studied the Bible because you thought that the Bible had no significance. But they studied you, they studied the Bible, and then they ripped pieces of the Bible out. So they said they studied you. Remember, Paleo Hebrew in Cherokee land, Paleo Hebrew in the Bering Strait, Cherokee Hebrew up in North America. Pyramids, the most pyramids that existed on the planet were in by Mississippians. And Mississippi is not just a state. Mississippians were a tribe of people that stretched out quite a bit in that southeast region of the United States of America. They studied you, then beat the brakes off you, and told you you better not ever teach this to your children. They told women don't ever submit to a man's mission. Not submit, it's not submission, it's submission. So you don't submit to a man, you submit to a mission if that mission is something that's for you, right? They said, don't do that, don't listen, don't be under anybody, be under us. You are the matriarch. And matriarchs, what? Matriarchs are the people we listen to in our society. And it's not wrong, but I'm saying we're the patriarchs that go with the matriarchs. You had that whipped out of you. Either the problem is what are we going to do to become an independent nation? Well, I mean, you're talking to the right people. I guess the assumption is that we don't have any plans for that. So, if you want to look up tons of different things that we have recordings and stuff. I'll say that we have something legit that we've already started called BioP 83. We're looking at land already. And then once we get there, we're looking at as far as are we going to do um, I'm about to say crates, not crates, but I'm shipping containers. Are we going to do tiny homes? We have people that are ready to build. So yeah, we're already on that because you need to make sure that you have your own place. That's biblical. Revelation chapter 12 says that Israel has to have a place to their own, or anybody wants to be grafted in, but we got to make sure that we have a place first. So yeah, that's very important. And we teach on here all the time that when it comes to if you want to talk about when we as a diaspora, whether you talk about Black, Israel, Hebrew, Arabic, whatever place, native, whatever you want to call yourself, more. The greatest time that we've had as people is A, during segregation, which I'm not saying we need to be segregated, but we should have our own land. And then B was kingdoms, which they tell us that we shouldn't be a part of. So yeah, appreciate it. Like that's what we on. And if you want more information on it, check out tons of material we have on YouTube already. Right, but just looking up hashtag find Kofi, hashtag FINDKOFI. If you can't remember that, just look at one of our videos. It'll probably pop up on like 90% plus of them. All right. But at the end of the day, yeah, it's about that. It's about sovereignty. But even in that, once again, whose teachings are you bringing? Because you want to know what, like, one of the things we don't talk about, we just go, man, and I'm not saying that we dismiss it. We're not going to dismiss what I'm about to talk about. But one of the things that we do is we just go, white people are the reason why there's no Tulsa, Oklahoma. And that's very accurate, but it's not complete, because we had people that could fight, but never considered that they should stop doing business with people that might kill them off, and never considered making sure that they armed themselves. We know they had an armory, but they didn't even have people that were in certain positions to protect the town. We talk about the airplanes and all that. We're at a time to where Black people had access to that stuff too, but didn't use it because they thought, hey, we're just going to stay in the same system. You never set up a system to protect yourself. You had, you had Wilmington, you've had Rosewood, you've had Tulsa, you've had Philadelphia, you've had Garvey. Garvey had ships all over the place, but had no protection for his people. You had, well, I won't say no. Even Martin Luther King Jr., he had some deacons that were ready to shoot and protect him, right? But at certain times told him not to worry about it, get shot. Malcolm X, he had people that were ready to go down and protect him, but tells him not to worry about it, get shot. You said we have Africa, okay, and we're looking at African land too, right? But we're a diaspora that's bigger than that. And so if you're saying just leave everybody, okay, cool. If you can get everybody together and everybody's going to be in agreement that we're going to leave tonight and we're going to pack up our stuff, we're going to take all our money, let's get on the ship. I have no problem with that. Let's go. Let's do it. But the reality is that we have some people. Now, we can't save everybody. It's not my goal to save everybody, but we don't have 1 million people that are going to come together. We don't have 100,000 people. We don't even have 1,000 people. If you can give me 1,000 people that said, hey, all the money that I have, period. If you could find me 1,000 people that were dedicated enough to say, all of us, we just going to go, and every little bit of change that we have, all of our savings, we're going to save it for 6 months, all of us going back home. Like I can show you where the land is and everything. We can make that happen tomorrow. No problem. like no problem, and still have money to live off of for years, just off of the fact that we have American money versus the CD or somewhere else or whatever currency we're going to. I promise you, we could do that like today. The problem is though, you have to have a bunch of people that are together, and then if we bring 1,000 people, there's going to be this thing like we're going to argue with each other. We're going to still talk about schooling people the way that English people would. I mean, if you found me 1,000 people that said, "Hey, we just gonna save up, we all gonna go," we could do it, right? But that's not what's happening. By the way, it's not my calling because there are people that need to do that. There are, by the way, there are places in Africa that people are doing that right now. So you could easily go and just do that, right? However, I know that there's a lot of brothers and sisters here that need to be saved, not because I can save everybody once again, but because there are people that don't even know this message, that don't even know who they are. So it's my responsibility, my personal, not maybe not yours, but what I'm accountable for, I'm gonna do what I'm accountable for. At some point, we're gonna have land over there. Matter of fact, personally, that's already on the, that's already something that's being worked out. But as far as the community, yeah, at some point, we need to make sure that we have land over there too. We need to have land everywhere, just like everybody else does, right? The Nigerian doesn't stop in Nigeria. He got people in Ireland, and they got land, and he got people in England that have land, and he has people in America that have land. Because kingdoms expand, kingdoms colonize, kingdoms gentrify. There's nothing wrong with gentrification, but we ain't gentrifying. So I'm with it. But once again, like, what is the source of that? Is the source like we're dealing with the people that fight and fight and fight? So if your whole thing is like we're gonna fight and fight and fight and just set up the same system, we just gonna put a black face on it. I mean, what does that do? There's somebody here, in all honesty, like just because I've been sick and stuff, and then trying to catch up, and we're trying to get some project management stuff together. There's somebody for a while. I think it's, and watch me say the wrong place now. I believe it's in Virginia somewhere, or North Carolina, probably North Carolina. There was somebody else I was talking to in Virginia that's been saying for the longest time, like, hey, even though maybe not everybody can live over here, why don't y'all come over here and start growing food? That's something we could do. We have people that are in Kenya. We have people that are in Ghana. We have people that are in Nigeria. That's not that you see what I'm saying? So the stuff is already there, but to just be like, oh yeah, everybody just drop everything. And by the way, here's another thing. If we be honest, well, I kind of already said this. What are we bringing as far as the source? Hello, Shalom. How you doing, Valerie? What are we doing as far as the choice, the source? When we all come together, what's the source of our culture? What's the source of our words? What's the source of our language? What is the source of our belief system? What is the source that our children will go to? It's like when people say, yeah, I'll hear brothers and sisters be like, "Man, I'm tired of this. It's time for war." And I'm like, before you start, and I'm with Killer Mike on this, right? Before we start telling all these young babies to go out there and die, do you have the weapons? Do you have the land? Do you have the armory to be able to fight the people you about to fight, right? And that's one of the things. Like, so the source is key. Is your source one where you're saying everybody in the diaspora has to be on the same page? Because I'm here to tell you, as much as you're not going to like what I'm going to say, it's a true statement. That ain't happening, at least no time soon. If we want to put that into our babies, fine. But you got to have a place to where you have a mission, and this is where submitting becomes hard. And that's why I'm taking a little bit of break these 2 weeks in a row to make sure that things project management are back on track, because people start doing really weird things, and people start acting really weird ways, and people start popping out of position, and people start talking trash about each other, and people start disagreeing on this, and people start saying because you believe in this versus this, and all these things happen because you don't have no mission. And everybody's then got to be submitted to the mission. That's what submission is. It's not submansion. Don't be submitted to a man. If something happened to me tomorrow, the mission still needs to happen. If something happens to whomever in the community, right? We didn't have people that were submitted to the mission. People were submitted to Malcolm, but Malcolm died. What happened to the mission? Right? Malcolm died. What happened to the mission? Amen. Thanks, babe. Yeah, and the mission is always about the Most High and what He wants for His people. And once his people are sealed, according to Revelation chapter 7, it says everybody can be grafted in, but we're not even sealed yet. Seal yourself. Are you dedicated to the sealing part? See, if people were dedicated to the sealing, I wouldn't see. Like, I think we talked about this the other day, and I don't mean sealing with a C. I mean sealing started with an S. Okay, if people were dedicated to being sealed, a lot of the questions that I get, I wouldn't even get. Yeah, yeah, babe. My wife said, personal agenda's got to be aside. Friendships sometimes got to be put aside. We got to be dedicated to the word, right? And we got to be dedicated to what the mission is. So, real talk, right? A lot of times, questions that come up to me are because people ain't dedicated to being sealed, being within themselves. Thank you, Ransom. Right? Like a lot of people are not dedicated to being sealed. So somebody be like, well, I know the word says this, but as soon as they hit a but, they're trying to cancel out what the word says. Like, yo, I thought we sealed or not? Like, what are we doing? Don't hit me with the word says, but are you sealed? And yeah, I challenge you. Challenges are something that you should learn how to deal with. I challenge you to stop being about all this other stuff and get into the word again. I challenge you to be sealed. I challenge you. Like, see, look, when the king gives a proclamation and that proclamation is sealed, that thing that they seal it with can only be broken by somebody who has authority to break it. How you doing, Cash? And we out here trying to be people that sealed and then trying to say we're going to reveal the mysteries. We're going to unlock the scroll. And unless you are qualified to do so, you can't even unlock it. But we talking trash about stuff and don't know. We talking about all this stuff as far as land and don't know. We talking about, hey, everybody got to be prepared and give in. And I'm tired of this and I'm tired of that. And the white man going to go down and all this stuff. It's like, man, what do you have planned for your family? You can't even have a marriage yet. But you talking about, I'm telling you, like people don't like to hear about marriage. And they feel like I talk about it too much. I'm here to tell you, like, you got to talk about marriage because if you can't even understand how to be married to the Most High, then how in the world you going to be talking about taking care of His children? Salah, you can't. You don't even know what it is to be submitted to His mission. How in the world you going to talk about a mission for the diaspora or diaspora? Depending on how you say it. Some people say diaspora. I say diaspora. Okay, that might be a tomato. I'm not sure which way you said, but I'm here to tell you. A lot of people talking about black nationalism. Like, what is black? Black is actually a real thing, but what is it? Do you even know that? Like, we talking basics. Willie Lynch told you that there's a phenomenon that must occur in order for things to go back to the way it is. Husbands must be husbands and wives must be wives. He said he reversed our nature. It legit says that they reversed your nature. People talking about I don't live by law. Then you don't live by nature because there's natural law. We don't even know what law means, right? We don't even know what law means. Because you need to live by laws. Why? Because laws protect rights. Stop talking about your rights if you don't have laws to protect your rights. Stop talking about your rights if you don't even know what your rights are. As much as you guys talk about the Constitution is against us, and it is, you must recognize that the Constitution uses words that you need to claim, such as is that you have unalienable rights. How you doing, Rhonda? Thanks for being on. Right? You have to have laws in place to protect rights. Exactly. You can put a seed. You can put we've said this plenty of times. You can put a cactus seed in the ground in Alaska, but see how long that plant is going to last because there's laws that go with that plant. And you're trying to plant stuff that don't belong in the country or in the space that you're in. Try expecting change. And thank you, Sister Beverly. I don't know if I said it. I feel like I did, but just in case I didn't, right? You talking about law? You don't even know Black's Law Dictionary. You talking about law? You don't even realize that the way that the West runs is based off of the Bible. They just perverted it. And the reason why you hate the Bible is because you hate the West, but you think that the way the West runs is the way the Bible runs. Completely different. Go to Ethiopia and see if they run their situation based off of the Bible or based off of what the West told you the Bible is. And come back and holler at me. That's Kush. Go to the real people of Kemet and see if they worship the Most High through the Bible, the way the people in the West worship the Most High from the Bible. That's Kemet. That's Cush and Kemet. They're in your Bible. It even says that Kemet, right, are the sons of the Most High. It says it in your Bible, meaning that, hey, we're mixed in. Look out through his story and the story, and you will find there are stories of Kemet and Cush coming to help out Israel during attack. See, but you're of the system, but you got to learn how to be in the system, not of it. We only use the Bible for mystical things because in the mysteries we can control people rather than the practical where we set people free. So we don't like to be, how you doing, chef? We don't like to be submitted to mission. We want to be submitted to a person, or we like to be submitted to ourselves. And that's how people look at your canon. I don't care what your canon is. Can I be honest? As far as this context, I don't care what your canon is. I guarantee you that most people look at it as far as this is what I want. Now let me figure out how the canon supports what I want, rather than this is what I need. And if my needs are met, then my wants will be met. Therefore, let me stop looking for what I want, but what I need. And then let me see, oh, the canon deals with my needs and also provides my wants. There's a lot of need, want stuff in there. Prayerfully, y'all got that. I don't know if I can repeat that exactly again. Right? The canon is there to take care of your needs because you need to have the right. Love is a right. If you're not receiving love, there's some things lawfully that are wrong in your life because love is an action. Love is not an emotion. Emotion in a sense because there are actions going on in your head as far as what makes you emotional, right? But love is an action. I love my people. What are your actions towards your people? Nobody said we need help bringing this message to more people, those that need to hear it. Yeah. You said you changed to having a true relationship with Elohim. Amen. Amen. Right? Like these are like love. What does achaba mean? When you see love in the Bible, you don't even know, if you don't know what achaba is, you don't know what love is. Because if you knew that achaba, if you knew what Yahaba achaba means, then you would recognize that God is love. What you use the term God is something that's a simple thing. It's literally saying the words are almost the same word. Therefore, you can't talk about love without talking about Yahava. Impossible. And thank you, Lex. My wife said, I feel like directing people toward truth is a form of love. Amen. That's action. And she said, we have direct with love and compassion. Or we have to direct with love and compassion, not force, just educate lovingly. Yeah. Love is an action. Love is an action. Hey, Crip, try to be better than that. I can still be welcoming to you, though. Shalom. How you doing? Peace be upon you. Because this right here is a crown. Just because it doesn't look like what your culture says is acceptable. So, but thank you for being on. Appreciate you. If you want to stick around and learn something, just try to be better. Try to be a human being, and try to treat other human beings as such. Right. So, these are the things that we're dealing with. You know, these are the things that we're dealing in. Right. I see. I figured it was you. But these are the things that we're dealing in. Right. How you doing, Dr. Ford? Thanks for being part of the community. Like we're dealing with people who are talking about things outside of source. You're having the issues that you're having because you're already outside of source. We talked about this yesterday. Who sent you? If you don't know who sent you, do you even know why you're at the destination? Everybody just does this weird thing. God sent me. God told me. Jesus told me. Allah directed me. I chanted and I got this. The reality is that like a lot of us just randomly do stuff and then want structured things in our lives. Right? Stop being spontaneous and expecting structure. I feel like just going to do this today. You know how many times I feel like going to the store. Like, were you directed? I feel like going to the gym. Were you directed? I feel like I should go to this organization. Were you directed? Did you study it? One of the things that Malcolm X said that blessed me a lot is that you should never, he didn't say this in a speech per se, but he said this to a person trying to join the Nation of Islam when he was NOI at the time. He made a point to say, like, you should never, the guy really wants to join the NOI. I think they have it in the movie, even though it's not exactly the way it happened in real life. But the guy's like, yeah, he sees what Malcolm has done. They've just, if I'll present the movie one because you guys might have seen that. So he's like, yeah, I saw you remember the scene? The guy gets beat up real bad. Um, this woman or this group is talking about how they beat him up, and they're telling Malcolm and the black Muslims about it, and and they like, man, it don't matter because he ain't gonna do nothing. He a Muslim, right? So he gets all the brothers. There's this famous scene, and they walk together, right? And they're walking in lockstep, right? They've been trained, so they're walking together, left, right, all that stuff. They don't need to say anything. It's a silent march, which is very hard to do. So like. So it's showing the excellence of precision and everything that they have. He gets to the prison, and the cops see all these guys outside, and he says that we're going to see brother, and I can't remember what the brother's name is, but he's like, we're going to see brother so and so. And so the cop looks out, sees all the black Muslims, so they let him see him. He tells them to get an ambulance. They take him to the hospital, and then the cop comes out, right? Chief, he might be the chief, I'm not sure, but he comes out to Malcolm X, and he says, "All right, you got what he wanted. He went to the hospital. Break this up." And he says, "No, I'm not satisfied yet." Right? I love the way Denzel says it in that scene. He said, "No, I'm not satisfied yet." He said, "To the hospital." So they marched over to the hospital. All those things, right? And they're marching, and then all of a sudden they get over to the hospital. They get a black doctor because they know that there's a black Muslim, right? So they get a black doctor to come out and say, "We're giving them the best care that we can," all that stuff. Then the guy's like, "Okay, break it up," and he smiles at him. He puts his hand in the air. He puts his finger, and he points, and everybody turns and does like I think a left face. I'm not sure, and then they leave, right? So all those things are done, and those are actions and things that are in place. Those are things that are put in. It was Brother Johnson. Okay, I can remember, but it's about all these things we're talking about together, right? Like all these things we're talking about, that puts everything together. Like there was a love. Somebody was willing to challenge. Somebody said, okay, it's not about being a black Muslim. Who cares if he's a Christian, Muslim, whatever? Let's go check on him. All right. It's not enough to see that we checked on him, made sure he got to the hospital. We're going to go to the hospital. We're going to show up a number. And by the way, if you catch the scene, what happens is every time you see the scene, not only are the black Muslim brothers marching around, but because they're so disciplined, others are what? Grafted in. They start marching too. And the guy who eventually asked him the question, he says, man, I saw all that stuff tonight. He says, I saw how great that was. He says, I want to be a Muslim. He tried to get to him at first. They held him back. And he's like, no, let him through. And he sits down at the table. He's like, yeah, I want to be a Muslim, this, that, or whatever. And Malcolm even sits down before he starts. He says, there's two things I don't like integrated. He's right. He's like, you know, uh, he said, the only thing, excuse me, that I like integrated is coffee and cream. And the guy laughs and he making a point to say, hey, you about to talk to a different type of mentality here. You talk about black nationalism, and really that wasn't even black nationalism yet. He started black nationalism for real after he left NOI. But nevertheless, he was saying, this is what we do when you come in here. Just recognize who you're talking to. So he starts saying, well, yeah, I want to be a black Muslim, this and that. And this is what Malcolm says to him. He says, okay, so you want to be one of us? You want to be Nation of Islam? You want to be Muslim? He's like, yeah. He's like, you want to follow the teachings and all that? He's like, yeah. He said, well, can you tell me anything about us? He said, do you know anything about us? And he said, no. And then what he says, this is the saying I like. He says, never, he said, never join an organization that you know nothing about. And then the guy starts to get up and sad and everything. He tries to leave. And he said, don't give up so easy either. Don't give up so easily either, right? So, but he was making a point to say, and he says, I like you. You got strength. Come on in. Come to the mosque, whatever. We'll teach you. We'll get you going. And he becomes somebody who's part of the organization, right? And so, like, and all these things that are going on, we have a lot of people who are trying to be about this kingdom walk, and they don't know about the organization, and they keep looking for other sources. They keep looking for somebody else to tell us how we're supposed to live and how we're supposed to act. Go to so and so and get coaching from them. Go to so and so and get counseling. Go to so and so and get healed. Go to so and so and get a word. Go, like, that's one of the problems we have. Like this is how catechism works in Christianity, right? I'm not Christian, but I'm just telling you Christianity because I've been Christian before. This is how it works. You become you're going to be catechized. They say we're going to send you to somebody else, and you or the organization, they're going to pay for. They're going to pay the person, which is no problem. They should, because they're going to be training you, but they don't really train you in anything. They say memorize the sheet. And while that's happening, before that happens in a lot of places, they send you to a school and they say go get your degree from them. And a lot of people don't know that a heavy percentage, some people would even go as far as to say a majority, but a heavy percentage of people and preachers and stuff that go to college, they actually lose faith when they go to college because the college is not based on that system, right? The college is not based on our system of belief. So a lot of brothers and sisters actually go to college. Oh, amen. Thank you. You all right? No. That's fine. Because this is charged enough. Thank you. Right. But people don't recognize that you're actually when you see these people get sent to different places, they usually are being sent to different places that don't share your belief system. So they go to college, and a lot of times they learn something completely different in college, and they come out and they do monstrous things. Not kind of sort of bad things. I mean exactly what I say. They do monstrous things. For example, people don't know this, and they don't talk about this, and they make sure not to talk about it on purpose. But real talk. Um, oh, wow, gosh, why am I trying to call him the wrong name? Stalin, Joseph Stalin. His parents wanted him to go to college and stuff and become a preacher. He went to college and he learned about evolution. And people don't know that evolution is based off of racism, right? Look up Charles Darwin's book, The Origin of Species, The Theory of Evolution, The Struggle of Survival for Favored Races. So he read that book and studied out of that book in college, because in college they were going to give him an education, a whole education. He came out of there, he said, oh, I realized that I don't need to worry about treating people with respect and how the most high thinks and all these different things, whatever, because it don't matter. Because he said, if I'm the best of the best, I outlive everybody. And he killed more people than Hitler ever did. And yet people don't even bat an eye or think about it. Because the culture that you come from says to just sweep that under the rug or this or that or whatever. So if you're somebody that's into evolution, usually you're coming from a Darwinistic type principle, and you're not even thinking about, and principle just means origin. So you're coming from something that originated with a guy, Charles Darwin, who was a lunatic, meaning he worshiped the moon. That's what lunatic actually means. And yet was trying to use his worship of the moon, mixing it in with Christianity, right? Which is what Christianity is. It's a mix of a whole bunch of different cultures. And then all of a sudden you took that and you interject in whatever your belief system is. So, hey, in his mind, it's okay to say, no, he didn't say that really that there is no God, but he said if there is a creator, the creator had to create things like this because white people got to be on top. I'm sorry, Azar says the ego wars against the surrendering or admitting that someone is greater than self. Yeah, if you're not careful, for sure. You said, yeah, organization is what they fear. So you learn by the reading and teach you obtaining. Yeah. Yeah, you also got to be careful who your teacher is. You got to make sure you recognize them and that you try everything to see if it's actually there. So a lot of people are not even aware. A lot of people, like we talked about this before. If we talk about evolution, people get mad when I talk about evolution, but they don't even know. Like the people who come against me, you can tell where they get the stuff from, because they'll start saying stuff, and I'm like, okay, but that's not really evolution. And they'd be like, no, that's evolution, blah blah. And I'm like, you talking about one type? There's 6 things that come together that people talk about as far as evolution. So which one of the 6 are you talking about? Do you even know? And people have no clue what I'm talking about, because you don't know what the foundation, you don't know what the origin, you don't know what the principality. You said you're interested in knowing my turning point from Christianity. I mean, pretty simple. I wasn't born and raised in the church. Started going to church basically like when I started living on my own. I joined the military when I was 17. About when I was 18, turning 19, started going to churches. Really was just playing music, really not for anything other than that. Was agnostic at that point. I'd actually been born and raised. My father was a Baptist who never really went to church. My mother was a Jehovah's Witness. So I was born and raised Jehovah's Witness. About the time I turned 12, 13, um, I wasn't feeling it anymore. My mother gave me the opportunity to walk away from it, and to find stuff on her own. Also, she was going through some stuff. She ended up passing away in my teenage years, my late teen years. So she basically didn't have the strength to really do stuff, but she trusted what she had taught me. So I was in, and I started listening to people. I started realizing there was people like Miles Monroe out there. I started recognizing that there was, I knew my family, and so I did some research on my family and found out my mother's side and my maternal grandmother's side, and how we went back to how we were Taino and Shui and Yashville, and found out about Negro land and all these different things or whatever. So I was in the church for a while, and I was going off of what people were saying, but I knew something was wrong, and I never really wanted to be Christian in the first place. If I be honest, I was just showing up for a check. I played some music. So, I did that very well. And a lot of people do that. That's why, like, even though now when I play music and it's bare minimum, I don't really play that much anymore. But when I play differently. I used to play just to make sure that people say, look at what he can do, and hopefully they'll give me a check. And I really didn't get paid that well when I did it. Interestingly enough, when I actually started giving my life to the Most High, then I actually started getting finances, even if it was only a little bit. I actually started getting finances for the first time, and oh, thank you for that. Yeah, my mother was excellent. Much love to Gretchen, excellent woman. And so, but from there, for years, basically, I was thinking about kingdom, Yashville, realizing that Christianity wasn't something that existed when the Bible was written. And one day, I was brave enough to say, I'm gonna step out. And I was still going to church at the time, but I was like, you know what, I'm gonna step out. And I was already saying like Yeshua, before I knew Yahshua and all that. I was still saying Yeshua HaMashiach, and I was saying, Yahweh and things like that. However, I hadn't came into a position of where I was willing to just go all the way out and be like, you know what? No matter what people think, no matter if I don't get the invites to speak and all this stuff, I'm gonna just speak what I've learned and what I've been studying. Because as a Jehovah's Witness, I was going door to door since I was 4 years old. So I don't believe in what Jehovah's Witnesses believe in, right? However, I know what it is to study. I know what it is to learn different languages. I know what it is to not just believe something because somebody tells you. I know what it is to be able to not have your questions answered, all these things. And I said, I'm not going to keep going for the okie doke, and I'm not going to be part of the okie doke. If I know that this stuff that we're saying is not correct, how dare I continue to come in front of these people of Yah and not give them what's correct? So that's basically, like, it was guilt and shame. I would go up and I would preach a sermon, I'd go through all this stuff, but I'd be ashamed. It didn't matter if I was preaching in front of thousands, didn't matter if I was preaching in front of two people. I'd be ashamed sometimes because I'd be like, why am I part of this? And I know that we're not really doing what we're supposed to do fully. I'm not saying that Christians don't do anything. I'm not saying that Christians are doing this on purpose all the time. A lot of people are ignorant. I was ignorant for a while myself. But it gets to a point to where it's like, are you going to live in truth or not? And so, now everything I do, the word holy, Allah, alive or aleph, it comes that character. To be one is to be whole as the source is whole. Be ye whole, WHOLE, or WHOLY. Be ye holy, one, as I am holy, one. The word Holy Bible, when you put those words together, when you have a book that says the Holy Bible on it, it's saying this is the whole set of books. Obviously, there's a lot of books missing, right? But that's supposed to be the indication. Is it's the whole set of books, and so it goes back to the source. Oh, thank you, Tiger. Appreciate it. Right. So it once again, what is your source? And for me, what got me to say I need to change it up a little bit is the source. When I read the source, and when I read the source, and when I ran into an apostle, and she legit had me write out like every word in the Bible in English, in Greek, and in Hebrew, and then I had to say the meanings for each one, and then you compare that to what we're teaching every day. Like, it's not the same. For example, Amos. Everybody talks about Amos 3:3. We use this all the time as a contextual fact, right? To give you an example. Amos 3:3. What does Amos 3:3 say? And somebody who knows the answer, right? Y'all chill out for a second. Somebody who's new on here, if you can. Amos, or somebody who might not have ever heard me say it before. right? Or I don't know. You guys who know what I'm talking about, you know. Give me a second, okay? Amos 3:3. Somebody tell me, what does Amos 3:3 say? And by the way, I don't even need you to read it. Look it up. A lot of you probably, well, you might need to look it up if you don't have the verses memorized. What does Amos 3:3 say? If you need to look it up, right? But Amos 3:3, what does it say? Then I'm gonna tell you what it actually says, and you're gonna be like, "What in the world?" But Amos 3:3, what does it say? We're dealing with this. This is kind of a conversation continuing on what we were talking about with the blood moon yesterday. We got to look at these sources. If somebody tells you Amos 3:3, what does Amos 3:3 mean? Amos 3:3 says, "How can two walk together except they be agreed?" Right? Unless they are in agreement, unless they agree on the same thing. And that's what you think Amos 3:3 means. Because somebody told you that. But if you actually look it up, it actually means how can two people walk together except they start in the same place? Completely different scripture. I won't say completely different, but pretty different. How you doing, Minister Nice? I had mentioned it briefly yesterday, but I don't think you were on. We gave a birthday shout out to you yesterday, right? So Amos 3:3 for a lot of people is, hey, how can two people walk together except they be agreed? So we got to agree on everything. We got to agree on everything. How can two people walk together except they be agreed? Agree on everything, or else we can't do anything together. No, Amos 3:3 says, how can two people walk together except they start in the same place? And if our goal is to end together and we're gonna start together, the context is the stuff in the middle we're gonna make work. But before we get into it, though, right? Oh, you said that's what Siri just said? Okay, cool. See, I didn't even know that, right? So I didn't even know it was that easy to find. People been telling me they can't find that, right? So peep game. So peep game. If you are coming into a relationship and your culture that you're going by says we have to agree on everything or else we'll split up, that means that you ain't gonna have that. You're not gonna have a great relationship. Because you know how many times you're not going to agree with your spouse. You know how many times you're not going to agree with your friend. And the weird thing is, you don't believe that because you have friends and y'all can disagree, and you just be like, okay, whatever, that's still my girl, whatever, that's still my homie. But you talk about, right? But you talk about Amos 3:3, and you think that you ain't supposed to have that same thing with your spouse. Hello, Grandmas. How you doing, Sister Sharice? You said it's Pastor Gina Jennings, my pastor? No. He does have some valuable things to say. There's some things that he says that are off a little bit, but I have mad respect for him because he lives, at least so it seems, right? You never know until you meet a person, but he seems like he lives by what he said. But if we're gonna start it together, we should end it together, which means that I'm not for the foolishness of stuff that tries to bring us together. When somebody does something and somebody does something that causes my wife and I to not be close, you're gonna see a real bad side of me. You're gonna see me turn to a person that really has, it's gonna be very difficult to show you love. I'm not saying I won't, but it's gonna be very difficult. Right. And we don't know any better. As Sister Nakia said, like we're in this situation where we really don't know any better. We've been taught different, right? But we gotta, if we started together, we're gonna end it together. So why would you come into any culture or situation with anybody, with any organization, whatever, and you start something and you're like, oh well, we don't agree on everything, so I'm gonna go ahead and leave. Well, why would you even come in there trying to start disagreement in the first place? In all honesty. Like if we're supposed to end together, all this stuff as far as trying to see who's better than the other person, we're gonna have issues with it. I'm sorry, hold on. Well, I'm sorry. Hold on, y'all. Sit. I can't really get it. I don't know. Is babe, are you still on? Maya, are you still on? I might have to see if I can text her real quick. Oh, you know what? Never mind. I know why it's I know why it's like that. Okay. Never mind. Never mind. I'm all right. Um, but yeah, so you have to recognize, like, how two people, like, how can two people walk together except they be agreed? That's not even what it says. How can two people walk together except they start in the same place? And people don't have a mindset. Like, if I started this with you, I will finish it with you. People are looking, that's what the whole prenup vibe is about. I'm not saying, prenups is something that you can't do, but like prenup vibe is basically like, I don't plan on ending this with you. I'm gonna just take this as far as it goes. Right. And that's what people do. And they come in with wild stuff because they're not considering that we've got to make this to happen together. We've got to be on point. We got to speak the same. We got to look the same. We got to act, well, not look the same, but you know what I'm saying? We got to be on one accord. We don't do that. We just come in. This is what I feel. This is what I want. This is what I'm going to do. This is what my people are going to do, et cetera, et cetera. I'm sorry, you said you have a random question not relating to this topic. How to go about that? How to go about what? And by the way, you don't even have to have a marriage contract. People talk about marriage contract. That's something legally you don't have to do. You sign your own contract. You make up your own contract. If I marry two people together, you're gonna sign your own contract. We're gonna write it up. So you don't even need a prenup. People just do prenup because they're afraid. Like, you don't have to worry about that. You said I love compensation with y'all, but Pastor Geno Jennings is y'all leader. I mean, okay, if that's who your leader is, that's fine. Right? If you need to be part of Geno Jennings, I'm not here to tell you what you can and can't be under or whatever. He has some teachings that are great, but I'm not under him. Right. And if that's your thing, if he has to be your apostle or like pope like figure or whatever, and everybody better be under him, I would say check yourself, because I don't even think that's something that he would teach. But you can make a contract between yourself. You can write a contract on a napkin, right? But you should take time out, type out your own contract. That's what we do over here. How you doing, Jay? Like, you had to comprehend what's going on. People aren't even, we're having these conversations once again. People talking about, I don't want to hear about marriage or whatever. Like, you don't want to hear about marriage because or people say, I know what marriage is. I had somebody tell me before, was trying to see about the possibility of them becoming a wife or whatever. And they told me they don't need anybody to tell them about being a wife because their ex husband taught them what it was to be a wife. And I was like, but your ex-husband and you ain't even together, and what does that have to do with me? You see what I'm saying? Like, we have some very weird and obscure things that come out. You said you were broke, so you didn't need a prenup, but if you had money, you would have one. I mean, that's fine. Once again, have your own contract. Your contract supersedes a prenup. You know that you can sign a prenup and then y'all can sign another contract, and that prenup ain't valid no more, because the contract that you sign, depending on how it's written out, it has more power than the Constitution of the United States, corporation, or the United States of America, either one. I'm from all over the place, in all honesty. Like, if you talk about where I was born on the East Coast of the United States of America, but I'm from all over the place. You said, why do we have to be a leader or have a leader or be under somebody? Why can't you be under the Most High? Um, we talked about that earlier. Maybe you weren't on. You're not submitted to a man, you're submitted to a mission. You're not submitted to a woman, you're submitted to a mission. If that mission has somebody, like, watch this. You're talking about something different culturally. Um, the word pastor comes from the word haleth, excuse me, which basically means an assembler. And the assembly is the which is the assembly. So you have an assembler over the assembly. The assembler sets up an environment and leads an environment. If others want to come in, they can be part of the environment, and they can take leadership roles as well to make sure that the environment is upheld. But the assembler has a responsibility that if somebody or something is trying to mess with the environment, we got to stop that, right? If where I am now, right, before I leave here, I'm gonna have to make sure that I cut the grass and everything, right? But my wife lets a lot of stuff grow naturally. So we've got dandelions, we've got I can't remember the name of all the stuff. We got parsley, we've got potatoes, we've got mulberry tree, we got all this different stuff. We got lemons. Well, I don't know if lemon trees out yet, but avocado tree, all these different things, right? We have garlic, we have all these different things. And she get right. So you can say that I'm the assembler of the environment, so to speak. However, she's she's a leader when it comes to the food being grown and stuff. So she gets to tell me as the leader over that, even though I might be the assembler, she gets to say, hey, as part of the mission of making sure that we eat naturally, you're not going to cut in these areas. So you're going to cut here, you're going to cut here, you're going to cut here, do whatever you want, make it look like however you want, but you will not do these things. So just because, so we're both submitted to the same mission, which is why the Bible says, be submitted ye one to another in Ephesians 5:21. Before we get to Ephesians 5:22 and Ephesians 5:25. So you're not submitted under a man or under a woman, you're submitted under a mission. So basically, with what you're talking about, that's what we're talking about. Be submitted to the mission, not to the person. If I do wrong, call it out. If I say wrong, call it out. If you have a question about something, question it. Just question it according to the mission. Don't just question it for the sake of questioning it. Not saying that's what you did, right? But that's what we're trying to set up. If you're trying to learn more, just look on our TikTok page. Those who are on TikTok, if you're on YouTube or the podcast, our stuff is going to be part of all the episodes that you'll see on there. But if you're on YouTube, I'm sorry, if you're on TikTok, just look on our TikTok page, click on where it says website. That's going to be our link tree. It'll pop up with a bunch of information. Contact us, get in contact with us. It said man needs a government for it, or it would be anarchy. The government must not be corrupt. Oh, very true. So we govern ourselves by the kingdom. So when Christ returns, the government will be on his shoulders. The government's already on his shoulders. Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6 and 7 tells us about the child that's coming. He already came. And he came to give us access to the kingdom. Even before the Beatitude, or I'm sorry, even before the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew chapter 5-7, started Matthew chapter 4, verse 23. What did he do first? He went to all of Galilee, to all the synagogues, preaching about what? The kingdom. He already brought the government. It's on us to be able to make sure we follow what he says. So you said Titus 13:17. I don't know if there's a chapter 13 in Titus. We can look though. I'm pretty sure there's not a. Are you saying 3:17? I don't even know there's there verse 17. Is it Timothy 13? No, Timothy doesn't have 13 chapters. Titus 13:17. If you put that back up for, I'm not sure which one. Who is Jesus to me? Jesus is half man, half Zeus. That's not his name. That's the name. If you study your word, you'll see that when you read your Bible, you'll see that name Yesus and Yesu were added on the tithe, or what we call the cross, and that was added on the tithe due to the fact that Pontius Pilate, he didn't know how to say who Yahshua was, but he washed his hands of everything. Yahshua said it's not on you, so he had in Hebrew, here's Yahshua, King of the Hebrews. Then in Greek, he said, here is Yesus, King of the Hebrews. And then in Latin, it said, here is Yesu, not with a Y, not with a J, with an IE. And those words basically saying half man, half Zeus. He was saying, here's a demigod. I don't know how to, in my culture, like in their culture, he's supposed to be the king. He's supposed to be the Messiah. He didn't say, remember, they asked him, right? I think Minister Kevin brought this up to us in our 7 Last Words series. Remember, they were like, please don't put up that he was the king. Put up, he said he was the king. Pontius said, no, I said what I said. Right? I said what I said. Like, he is the king of the Hebrews. And then he put, here is half man, half Zeus in his culture, in Greek and in Latin, words that they, who were supposed to be upper echelon type people in the higher class, these are words that they would have used in Latin and Greek. So he says, I want all of you guys, because remember, Israel was not all Israel at that point anyway. A lot of people that were living in Israel were not Israelites. A lot of the Sanhedrin were not Israelites anymore. So remember, King Herod was not an Israelite. He was a Gens or a Gentile. So he was making a point to say, hey, I want everybody, whether you speak Hebrew, whether you speak Greek, whether you speak Latin, I want you to know who this is. He said, I'm gonna put his name up there in Hebrew, but in Latin and Greek, I'm gonna make sure that I put his demigod status so that you don't understand in our culture how I look at him, because he knew who he was. That's why he washed his hands clean. That's why he tried to say, hey, I'm gonna let you guys take Barabbas. I'll let you take the murderer. They said, no, give us the murderer. Oh, it's Hebrews 13. Oh, I'm sorry. That's what you were saying. I didn't comprehend what you were meaning. Hebrews 13:17. Okay, my fault. I'm sorry. My bad. You said you love Nat Turner. Hey, Nat Turner's cool. You said obey them that have the rule over you and submit yourselves, for they watch for your souls as yet as oh, okay, as yet I'm sorry, as they that must give account, that they may do it with joy and not with grief, for that is unprofitable to you. And basically that's not even saying that you have to bow down to the person. Great scripture. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, sorry, Minister Sonia, I see what you're saying. um so so it's not even necessarily saying there you got to be under a person as much as it's saying, hey, look, somebody's got to be over this environment. Remember, you're not over people in the Bible, but you're really over an environment. So he says somebody got to be over this environment. And he said, so hey, man, if people are telling you the mission, then why not obey? See, we got to comprehend this. Once again, it's not submission. It's not being submitted to a man. That's where people get it wrong. When it says, wives, submit yourself to your own husbands, it says, as unto who? Adam, unto the Lord. It's not saying wives better submit just to any man. Wives, submit yourself to your husband as he submitted to the Lord. If he is the Lord's wife, then you should have no problem being his wife, is what it's saying, because he's under the mission. Never get under a man, right? Never, like, people make this mistake all the time. Look, if you attracted and blah blah, I promise you, like, if your husband's not attracted by everybody else's standards, if you have real love for your husband, you'll find him attractive no matter what. If you got real love for your wife, I don't care what everybody's beauty standard is, you'll find them attractive no matter what. Right? I praise y'all that I have an extremely attractive wife by the inward standards and the outward standards and everybody's culture standard, right? So I praise y'all for that. Not all of us are so blessed to be so, because I'm not the I don't consider myself to be the greatest, most attractive person to ever exist and all that stuff either. Right. However, what I will say is that in all that, right, the thing that allows my wife to look past whatever everybody's standard has to be concerning me and say, I love him and I think he's sexy, and all these things that she'll say and she said outright in public, and the things I can say about her, is not always about the outward appearance. It's about the mission. And if my mission is to make sure that I show my wife that I've always got her back and she'll always have security, she's going to love me and think of me in the way that everybody else is looking for it through the world's prism. Right? And you submit it to the mission is what causes you, in all honesty, that's what's going to cause you to be sexy down the road. A lot of people have sex overnight because somebody looks good because you drank some alcohol, or because somebody got some hips and stuff, and then all of a sudden, but there was nothing out of there that's going to support you. There's nothing out of there. There's a lot of people who are way more famous than I, and a lot of men, a lot of women who will tell you that they've had sex and been revolving doors for sex, and they ended up feeling really broken and bad, feeling really bad, because there was a lot of stuff going on with their soul and soul ties and all this stuff, and sex is marriage and marriage is sex, and people don't recognize it, and then you get access to having it as much as you want. You think that's what makes you cool, and you realize real quick, no, like, ain't nothing really cool about this at all. It's actually messing me up. Right? It's the things that you're designed to do. Right? So being the mission is the most important thing. Men doing all this stuff and all these different things and all this stuff in bedroom and who's is it and blah blah. Your wife is just waiting for, after all this stuff goes and all your histrionics and all your theatrics, and by the way, it might feel good, whatever, but after all that stuff happens, she can't wait to hear your mission and how loving her is part of your mission. Right? Like, at the end of the day, that's they're looking for all those things. We think it's about all these other things, and they just looking for what? Like, where's the mission? At least show me. Even if you can't get it, even if you don't know how to do it, will you try it once? Will you try it once? If you try it and it falls apart, look, at least I can say you went down swinging, and I got you, right? And I'll get you more than I ever had before. I'll be your helpmeet more than you've ever experienced before, because guess what? Like, I gotta help out anybody that's willing to go to that level for me and do what Christ did, right? And they'll love me the way that he loved the assembly. Man. So we have some things, by the way. I just saw the question. I'm sorry I missed it from earlier. I don't know how much earlier you asked. What's the difference between Yahushua and Yeshua and all those different names? We have some stuff on the podcast, or I'm sorry, on YouTube that talks about names. We also have some stuff on Patreon that talks about names as well. And because you're on the podcast, I probably wouldn't be able to do it justice without actually showing it to you, you know. But a lot of people don't comprehend this stuff. Like, we're having this conversation, people talking about marriage, and we don't know the context of what marriage is. We don't know marital law. Laws protect rights. How do you protect the marriage? And you don't even know how to be married to the Most High. Like, the greatest way I can be married to the Most High, or first of all, be married to my wife, is to be married to the Most High. And people are struggling with that and talking about, well, I don't really want marriage or something. Well, of course you don't. I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings. I'm just trying to say, like, this is real talk. It's stuff I had to look at for myself. I want my wife to listen to me, but she's supposed to lay down the law. That's Proverbs. That's a proverb. Proverbs chapter 1, verse 7, right? Verse 7, verse 8. Father gives the instruction, the mother lays down the law. Right? But I'm busy trying to give instruction and lay down the law. And my wife is like, well, what am I supposed to do? And I'm like, what do you mean what you're supposed to do? I'm giving instruction. I'm giving law. Wait, what's the point? No, bro. No, bruh. Slow your roll. You give instruction, but she lays down law. So you have to trust that you say something and that your wife will take it and be your helpmate, because she's what? What is your wife? She's an incubator. The same way you can trust her with a seed and she'll give you a baby, you should be able to trust her with instruction and she'll give you a home. How you doing, Kin Ministries? That's to be a part of the community, right? Like, we don't comprehend the simplicity. We talked about this before too. We got this on the YouTube channel too. The basics of roles. Right? The basics of roles. These roles are basic, but we don't like roles. We argue over roles, but then we want community. How do you get a community, but you argue over roles? Tell me where they do that. How does that work? Talking about the patriarchy. What role does a black man have in the patriarchy? I'm not saying we have no role. I'm asking a legit question. See? What role does a black man have in a patriarchy? You said as a former role player and people understanding their roles is key. Yeah. There are people that play in the NBA right now, and they don't get to shine, right? They don't get to shine. People talking about Luka Doncic, but don't forget that Luka Doncic plays with a guy. He plays his role very well, but when Luka went down, for those of you who know what I'm talking about, when Luka went down, somebody else stepped up, scored 41 and 36. So when Luka comes back, he says, "Look, I know my role. Why you here, bro? Like, you the one. This is the team operates best when you're the one leading. But when you gone, hey, don't forget, I got it too. Don't forget, I can hit 42. Just because I only score 10 to 20 all the time doesn't mean that I can't score 40. I just know my role." You said The Rock said it best: "Know your role and shut your mouth." He would have put a Rudy Poo in there somewhere, in a candy, somewhere, right? But I know my role, man. And that's what I'm trying to tell people. Like, look, that's why I said earlier, Minister Nice, when it's Thursday Rise in Prayer, if I want to say something, even though I'm the pastor, guess what I say? Minister Nice, is it all right if I say something? Because I know my role. I know I'm the pastor. And when you know your role, guess what? You won't be intimidated by somebody else knowing their role. I know my role as husband. All right, Sister Betty, you enjoy your day, right? I know my role, right? There used to be a time where I was really into basketball. I thought that's what I was going to do for a living, all this stuff, right? Until I got into music and I decided I was going to be into music. And even still, I was really pretty, did very well as far as playing basketball. And then all of a sudden, um, now I don't play as much anymore. If I were to go out on the court, I know my role is going to be a lot different now than what it would have been before. Give me the ball, right? Get out my way, whether it's back to the basket, whether I'm gonna take this dude off the dribble, whether I'm gonna shoot threes for the parking lot, right? I try to practice all that stuff, right? So I have an idea how the game runs. Now, man, shoot, I'm taller than everybody else. I'm 6'5" and a half. If I play with most cats, I'm gonna be the person that's in the middle. Give me the ball. I'm very good at passing because I can play all five positions. At least, I used to, because I thought I was going to. I was 6 feet tall in middle school and stopped growing. Then I grew 5.5, the rest of 5.5 inches when my senior year. So I thought I was going to be 7 feet at one point. So I can play. I know how it is to play all five positions. Okay, look, my goal, because I'm not out here much. I don't have the dream shake stuff down as much as I used to. My abilities and my muscles and everything aren't fired up. Or even after the first couple runs, when we play the first couple games, I'm probably going to start running out of energy because I'm not used to running up and down the court. So now I need to make sure I'm focused on defense. I make sure I give out passes. And when push comes to shove and we need to make sure that we win the game, all right, give me the ball. I saved up the energy. My role has changed. I don't need to score. We running to 16, right? First to 16 or whatever wins by ones. I don't need to score 10 points anymore. I need to make sure, though, that if it comes to the last 1 or 2 points and everybody's going around that one person, when I get the ball, I can turn it back on again because I know my role, right? And people are not into their roles because, once again, we're not into the source. The source has said that roles are vital. The source has told us that roles are vital. When he says he's your father, that's a role. When he says he's the son, that's a role. When he says he's the Holy Spirit, that's a role. Or she says she's the Holy Spirit, that's a role. When it says that, though, the he or she thing, that's not either male or female, because there's no male or female in heaven. Male and female on earth, that's a role. What are you doing to play your role? What is your role? Are you taking time out to even think that a role is important? This is one of the issues that we have. But roles are so basic. If you could get back to roles, you could get back to basics. Don't let anybody tell you that this is what blah blah. Look, man, and I know there's might be some LGBTQ plus people on here or some people that are supporters. I'm not putting you in heaven or hell. You can do whatever you want. You have the right to do whatever you want. Just know that there are laws, and so there's consequences of different things. But let me tell you something, right? You're never going to get me to agree, and my agreement doesn't have to have any validation on what you do, right? You're never going to get me, though, to come outside of truth to agree that a trans woman is the same as a woman and that I should just drop trans. You know why? Because women have a role. If you want to create a new role, you go ahead and create a new role, but comprehend and understand you're not taking over their role, not in my community. If you want to do it in your community, hey, if I go to your community and I integrate over there while I'm there, you guys do what you do. But if you come into my community and you try to integrate with this, that don't integrate in. Because a woman is a woman and a trans woman is a trans woman. Be mad at me all day if people try to cancel you when you say stuff. So I have to be careful how many times I say this because people will cancel you over stuff like that, right? But you know that I'm right because if you go to the doctor, guess what the doctor's going to do? If you come in there and you say, I'm a woman, is the doctor going to treat you as a woman or is the doctor going to treat you as a man? You hear what I'm saying? You know that I'm telling the truth, even scientifically, or what you call science. Your science says that if you go into the hospital right now, you go to your doctor's office, you got an appointment with your doctor. If you're a trans woman and you got a friend that's a trans woman, you go with that trans woman to an appointment and see if that man doesn't have to have a prostate exam or that trans woman doesn't have to have a prostate exam, right? The doctor is not going to do their job properly if they don't make sure that they give you the same stuff they give the men because you're still physiologically a man. Your role is not the same. It's not natural law. You can be upset with me about it. And it doesn't mean I'm saying you have to go to heaven or hell. It doesn't mean that if I were to meet you that I wouldn't touch you or shake your hand. It doesn't mean that we couldn't sit down and break bread. Right? Doesn't mean that like if my wife and I were out or whatever that we would ostracize you if we saw you and you needed help with your car, that we wouldn't give you money to make sure that you get from one place to the other, something like that. Doesn't mean any of that. It means though that I'm not going to give up my wife's role and tell her that her role is meaningless now or her role loses value because I want you to feel comfortable. You said, and they will never be a woman internal organs don't change. Yeah. Face the facts. You said, who cares if they get upset? I mean, look, I have a, I mean, at the end of the day, my mindset is not wrapped around somebody being upset or not. But, like, I don't mind making sure that I deal with people's feelings. Feelings are factual. I don't believe facts go over feelings, if feelings are facts, right? But I do believe that we shouldn't leave facts alone. And definitely we shouldn't leave facts without context. You said strangest thing you ever seen is a man with a full beard and belly pregnant. And by the way, only one or two things can happen because men can't really carry babies. We don't have any place in our body to do so, and we can't deal with the pain. We're not designed for it. So either a, it was a woman, right, that had gone through hormones and stuff, and basically had a beard because of it, but had taken had stopped taking a certain amount of hormones so that she could get pregnant, or but but it's about roles, man. It's about roles. Yeah, Caitlyn Jenner got Woman of the Year, all that stuff in the past. It's about roles, and people don't like roles. That's why we had to continue this conversation from the blood moon over into today, because if you recognize the source of things and you recognize what's going on, like, and that's why people are hungry for a lot of this stuff. Not just with me or whatever. There are people that have way more numbers and stuff than me, but you start looking at Jordan Peterson, start looking up Abba and Preach, start looking at Joe Rogan, start looking at all these people who is supposed to be what the red pill community or whatever, right? Start looking at people who are looking for a more masculine mindset to take place and to be spoken on, because a lot of men are tired of not having any place that allows for them to be able to speak on things from a masculine perspective, right? And that it's not natural for men to not be able to be masculine, but people are going to become so toxic now. Some of them are going way too far, right? I will admit, right? But so some are going way too far. With them going way too far, though, we have to recognize why they even started going that direction in the first place. Sorry, Living Water, you said, why do we want to change what is natural? I don't understand. Well, it's because people want to do whatever they want. And people believe that free will means that I should be able to change nature. Mm. I'm sorry, Nubian said all the women out there, they gave it to Bruce Jenner. Camilla says, I know people that are that way. I love them still, but I'm going to be truthful with the word. Yeah, be truthful with the word. And by the way, like, there's people on here, and I can't remember who. Somebody the other day said something. I don't ask people to out themselves. I don't feel obligated to out yourself or whatever. But there's people on here that I've talked to behind the scenes, or people on here that don't admit it. But real talk, like, I know there's people that are listening to me that listen to me talk about marriage and stuff, and they themselves are dealing with LGBTQ plus stuff. And if somebody admitted it on here, there better not be nobody, and we don't have anybody, but I'm just making it clear so people hear it come out my mouth. Better not be anybody on here that cancels somebody or tries to do some kind of weird thing that somebody just says, hey, I'm gay or whatever, but I'm listening to what you have to say, and and they get blocked. And that hasn't happened, it won't happen. Right? It hasn't happened and it won't happen. Alaikum salam. How you doing? Right? It's we had this weird thing. It's all right, Keytroy. I tried to read what the person said. Somebody already, I guess, muted them or whatever. So I don't even know what they said, but it's all gravy. But a lot of people don't recognize. We're coming from sources to where we're doing stuff. People are out here arguing. Why is it? See, if you're hear people of this stuff, right? You hear people say this stuff, man. If you should recognize these are people that are marginalized. And these marginalized people, they go through the same marginalization that you go through. No, no, because somebody who's queer can act very masculine one day and then act very feminine the other day, and nobody says anything, right? But I can't hide this. Even before, when I tried to hide this, I've never been able to hide this. And even if I try to do what other people have done, which I will never do, but if I try to bleach my skin or something crazy like that, I come off looking very weird looking, right? We don't go through the same struggle. Oh, yes, you do. Yes, you do. No. Should we still recognize their humanity? Of course. And that's where people get it messed up because you're not going to the source. That's not the source of my argument. Thank you for the compliment. That's the source of my argument is not that, that basically somebody who I'm or who I say I don't agree with the lifestyle and that my culture doesn't accept it, doesn't people make the jump. Oh, so you hate them. No, not at all. I'm sorry, you said men are more toxic in online communities than they are in real life, in your opinion. I mean, yeah, toxic behavior is toxic behavior. I guess online behavior allows people to, do a lot more because they don't have to be addressed. About the blood moon, we talked this is a continuation. So we talked about the blood moon heavily yesterday. We talked a little bit about it today, but the main thing we were trying to get across with the blood moon is that you got to know the sources of where things come from. So it's on YouTube though. If you look up on our YouTube channel, all you got to do is just look back to yesterday and you'll be able to see the blood moon conversation. Am I a Muslim? No, I am not. I'm not a Christian either. I am a kingdom citizen, if you will. I'm a follower of the way. I am not but yeah, that's not my religiosity. So I have no problem with Muslims. Muslims are my brother. If you were Ishmael, then you would be Isaac's brother. So I don't have a problem with you if you're Muslim. But yeah, I'm not Muslim. I'm sorry. Desiree. Sorry, I keep saying desire. Desiree. Some are using it as a privilege. Bruce is now transitioning back into a man. Yeah. So we won't block the LGBTQIA. We love them. They need to hear the word as well. Yeah, most definitely. You said we're all brothers. Okay. Depending on how you depending on how you treat me. If you treat me well, then you're my brother. Depending on how I treat you, should be your brother too. And there might be brothers that don't treat each other well, but hopefully you get the context. Not all skin folk is kinfolk, so that means not all people that say to my brother are my brother. Said no, we are all brothers. Okay, that's your opinion. See, I don't believe that everybody's the children of the Most High. My canon never says that. That's something that people started saying because they wanted to be able to get away with whatever and say we're all God's children. And I don't even believe in God. I believe in Elohim. So you're talking about something different than I'm talking about, right? But there's nowhere in your Bible. Quran kind of sort of says it, but doesn't say it in those exact words. So I'll back off the Quran. I don't study the Quran anywhere close to what I used to, and I definitely don't study it as much as I study the Tanakh. He said we are all created equal, but different color. No, we're not created equal. There's no such thing as equality. Equality is a myth. My wife and I are not equal. And because we realize that and we support each other and the things that make us different, we're able to become one. So I support everybody. Just because somebody's black doesn't mean we're equal. Just because somebody's a twin doesn't mean we're equal. It doesn't make sense. There are no two. I'm looking at all the grass out here. There's no two pieces of grass that are equal. They're not in the same place. They don't grow to the same size, right? They don't have the same amount of chlorophyll content. Equality is a myth. Equality doesn't mean that lack of equality is not the absence of love. That's somebody else's thing. How you doing, Calder Krypton? You said you bleed, I bleed, same blood. No, our blood's not the same. What are you talking about? That's like saying, if I cut a chicken and you cut a turkey, they both have blood that bleeds. No, like our blood is not the same. If you had a child and your child needed blood, right? You as the father, you have a child and your child needed blood. Pretty much, they ain't gonna come to me for blood before they come to you because they know that our blood's not the same, right? You're acting like because I say we're not the same that I should treat somebody with less respect. That's a different argument. See what I'm saying? Yeah, it's like we're all Americans because we all bleed. No, like even if you look up the definition of what an American is, we're not all American. Some of us aren't even citizens of the United States Corporation. Some of us are non-citizen nationals, right? I understand if you prick us, do we not bleed? But don't act like you bleed the same blood. You said we are the son of Adam. Okay. It doesn't mean you're equal. Is Cain equal to Abel? You'd be like, yeah, he is. No, he's not. I mean, heck, we're all spirits. Is the devil equal to you? No. And if that's something that you want to keep up, as far as that's the cultural belief that you want to uphold, then you upkeep that. That's fine. Keep the same energy for your culture and come on in here and accept that we would have something different and we believe something different. And if I'm going to treat you well because I believe that we should respect our differences, and you're going to treat me well because you believe we should respect our equality, then we shouldn't necessarily have to have an argument about that. Do I believe in the prophets? Yes. I don't see what I'm saying, but we'll go through this. It's fine. Let's go through this, right? But I want you to see. You said equality belief is not really bringing unity, despite how similar that may seem. Yeah, equality is not. There's not like if people understood, you know, like, but I don't get the whole thing. Like, if you think that everybody has to be equal, because equal means that you and me are the same. We're not. What's wrong with me saying like I'm gonna click on your picture real quick. I don't know if this is your picture, right? Your skin is a different shade of brown than mine. Okay. Um, does it mean so? What makes so? You're saying that we're equal, but we're not. And what I'm coming from, right? But that doesn't mean that just because I say your skin is lighter, that you're worse than me. Matter of fact, I comprehend that melanin is never scientifically, depending on other people's culture, of course, but um, melanin is never measured from the outside in. It's always measured from the inside out. So just because you're lighter than me doesn't mean that you might not have a higher melanin content. It doesn't mean that your pineal gland might not work better than mine. It doesn't mean that my heart is better than yours. It doesn't mean that my prayer life is better than yours. It has nothing to do with that. But it doesn't mean that I won't see your skin and be like, man, I love everything about you, including your skin, bro. Right? Our facial hair is different, but it doesn't mean that I wouldn't see your facial hair and be like, man, bro, I don't really, I like your facial hair. It's your personality. It makes you who you are. You said equality means being treated the same just because what? Or just because somebody said so? Is that what you're saying? I'm not sure. I didn't catch the rest of it. You said even this system is not that there is nothing equal about the system. You said we're equally unique. I mean, okay, if we need to, yeah, I guess we could do that. All right. You said our structure and muscle mass is different, and melanin seems to play a part in this. I mean, of course it does. Melanin is what babies are formed around. If it wasn't for melanin, you wouldn't exist. Okay, you were saying just because. Okay, I didn't. I didn't know if I had missed the rest of your comment or whatever, because sometimes they come in there. You said a bit of semantics. I mean, it is what it is. Equality at the end of the day is a myth. Equality at the end of the day is a myth. Look, there's tons of herbs. If you believe that in equality, then you believe that you can go ahead and you can eat poison ivy the same way that you can eat, uh, the power greens. Okay, like at the end of the day, we know that this stuff is not the same, right? Um, these things work on different things. There are certain things that are aficionados. Technically, you could say, like, that's a great one. If you know aficionados, I keep saying aficionados, I believe. If you know what aficionados means that basically it helps your whole body. So you could say, technically, all plants are aficionados if you know how to use them, because if one part of your body functions well, then it helps another part of your body function well. However, if somebody comes to me, right, we can't do the equality thing where somebody comes to me and says, "Man, you know what, Kofi, I'm having issues with my blood pressure." Now, dandelion could help with that, but you know what would be even better? It's probably hibiscus. And if my wife is on, she can correct me. She's a herbalist. She has the business. She's the one that actually functions and been working for a decade plus in this, right? But you know, if somebody came to me and was like, "Oh man, you know what? I'm having problems breathing." Yeah, dandelion is an officinalis. It'll work. But you know what might work really well too is if I made sure I gave you the dandelion and gave you some grapes with actual seeds, because they're going to go directly to your lungs. And somebody said, "Man, I'm having a heart issue, this and that, or whatever." You know what? Yeah, dandelion might be great because it's a officinalis, but it's not something specific to be able to go to the heart. Let's see about something that's red. Usually, something red in color would be something that'd be very great. Let's go ahead and start working on those things and start putting together some cocktails, if you will. My wife said, "Love and respect is not lacking due to inequality. Equality is a myth." Yeah. Oh, no, amen. I think there's agreement there. Minister Tamara, hey, how you doing? You said equality, sameness, uniformity. We are not equal. We don't want equality. We want equity. Yeah, and we want the right to do that. So at the end of the day, like we have this. I'm just saying we have these sources, and we've been taught these things, and we have to start asking ourselves, who gave us the source? Who gave us these things? And I'm sorry, there's a lot of different comments coming up all over the place. Those who are on the podcast, looks like we're about to run out of time. So thanks for being on. Feel free to come over to TikTok and YouTube if you want to join us there, and continue with us. But it looks like we're about to run out of time. Thank you, everybody who's been on the podcast today. We appreciate it. So, when we talk about this stuff, everybody's equal. Mullen for breathing, things of that. Are you here? Okay, thanks, babe. Mullen for breathing. you know and my wife's my go-to when it comes to healing and stuff like that. She's a herbalist. Once again, check her out at Bloom and Flourish, not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. And Minister Tamara, I saw you on I guess you went to the thing last night or whatever. I don't know if you want all your business put out, but glad you guys had a great time. I'm jealous. I want to go. I want to go. So but yeah, you know you said equality is a myth, but it's becoming dangerous because they are using it as a weapon now. Yeah. And that's what happens. Like, so that's how you get to a place. Then that's a great point. I think it's D. Brew that said it. That's a great point. If I'm at a point to where I say all women are women, what does that mean? If I say all women are women, what does that mean? People don't want to talk about it. People don't want to be ask questions about it. People don't want to be questioned about it. But when I say all women are women, what does that mean? If I say all if I say toxic masculinity, and therefore really inferring that all masculinity is toxic, what does that mean? What does that do to your community? What does that do to society? Why not? Look, let's do this because some people might feel like I'm attacking them. If you're a trans woman, why not just be a trans woman? What is wrong with that? Yeah, it's always been a weapon. Yeah. What is wrong with you just being a woman? If you are a trans woman and you have made a decision to be a trans woman, what is wrong with you being a trans woman? You said it puts a stigma on them. Why? By the way, can I say this? When people talk about the similarities and stuff, let's do this. You ready? You ready? You said trans women and women. Okay. All right. Well, watch this. If you become a trans woman and you say that you're the same as a woman, then why? Okay, peep game. I don't think people get this. Why is it? Because some trans women will say what I'm about to say, but then they're going to say against what I'm about to say. You said we live in a patriarchy, okay, and a lot of the people that are part of the patriarchy are the trans women, right? So let's not act like people who didn't steal a black woman's idea. You call it the Matrix, right? Let's not act like people didn't steal a black woman's idea, called the Matrix, then turn themselves into women and said, "Call me a woman." Are they the same, right? And I hope I'm not coming at you. It's just it's 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 a little bit something I'm passionate about because I've listened to women talk about this, right? But hear what I'm saying. Okay, why is it that a trans woman, some of them, many of them, right? Because they realize they can't look too bad as far as cognitive dissonance. So why is it that a trans woman will tell you that there are certain things that are cultural misappropriation? In other words, if black people did this, why are we trying to say that somebody else did it? Right? They basically say, yo, we shouldn't be biting off black folk. We need to get off of them like that. We need to make sure that we doing things. Grand rising to you too. We need to make sure that we get back on track. We need to make sure that certain things that is just supposed to be black, let it be black. Don't say the N word, this, that, whatever. But then when it comes to women, so if it's a black person, you'll say, hey, don't do that. You're not black. You don't have a right to say that. You don't have a right to say that word. You don't have a right to do that. You don't have a right to do this. But then when it comes to women, oh, we get to say that we you. I'm not saying that we should see. And when we talk about this, then people go to the patriarchy. The patriarchy. Look, okay, if you're going to say because of patriarchy, I'm not the patriarchy. Somebody get real slick then and say, yeah, but you represent the patriarchy. You've been raised under the patriarchy. Okay, granted, I'll give you that the patriarchy did shape a little bit of my concepts growing up earlier. However, I'm somebody that's very dismissive of the people who are in the position of the patriarchy because they go by the social construct of white and are against our people. See, yeah, but as male we have. That's what I say. I already know where the argument's going, right? And so it's like, okay, they're like, see, but you've been trained under them. Okay, so question, my culture. Forget, forget white men said, right? Forget white men said. Because I already know where that go. I already hear it all the time. And I listen to it. That's why I know where it's going. I think sometimes the assumption is we don't listen to it. I listen to it and I hear it and I respect it. But let's go out of the social construct because what we're really saying when we're saying patriarchy is white men by that social construct. That's what we're saying. Rich white men. I'm sorry, my wife said women are not respected, so a man can steal her identity and expect no argument. And that's part of the problem. That's part of the issue we don't want to talk about. Because if you did it to a black person, that same person would say that's disrespectful, but you do it to a woman and we say it's all right. Right. But here's the deal, right? It's you're not talking to somebody who's part of the patriarchy. I don't give classes out that teach you how to be part of the patriarchy. We give classes out to teach you how to be sovereign. We give classes out to teach you how to be Israel. We get classes out to teach you how to be yourself. We give classes out to make sure that you are disconnected from a society that gave you all these terms in the first place. And before a trans woman was hated on, a black woman was hated on. So you're going to miss me with that. Now we go back to our culture, and I'm not talking about you specifically, Trauma, right? But if you go back to our culture, go to Africa, and you will discover that a lot of European nations are upset with many African tribes and nations because they have decided that they are not going to push and enforce LGBTQ plus. And therefore, other countries said, we're not going to give you money, we're not going to give you this. They said, okay, so be it, because it's not our problem. Not that it's not a problem, it's not our problem. I'm telling you what the leaders, what the presidents, what the prime ministers have said. Go to Liberia and ask them about LGBTQ plus. They would be shocked and appalled. And the people that are into it, they would say, you know what, they're still our family. We still love them. But man, we're praying for them and we're hoping we can help them do tough times. That's how they view it in their culture. Now, what we do is say a lot of white people who are Greco-Roman and are holding on to those principles want us to give up our culture and say that their culture is better. Why is your culture better than mine? That's the real conversation. You said you're gonna have to be upset with that one. Yeah, you're trying to what's really going on. People are like, oh, well, why are you not, why are you not willing to do these things? You said you're gonna say European ideals made them view it that way. Yeah, yes, yeah. Europe means anything that belongs to Rome. And gender, right, just means what people believe as far as their, when you're talking about, and by the way, gender is genre, right? It's the same concept, it's the same sept, the same idea. This is coming from the same precept. So genre just means a style. There's genres of music. So there's genres of gender identities or what males and females do. So gender is attached to male and female only when you attach it. And by the way, there's studies done on this. We've talked about this before, but do you know that one of the things that happens before great civilizations break up is that they start arguing over gender? Do you know that that's actually a normalcy to um, kingdoms falling apart, especially in Europe? Did you know that? You know why? Because it's part of roles. When people start having issues, and a lot of times these are kings and queens that are inbred and stuff too, right? But when people get to a place to where they're where you start having these huge discussions over gender, it's usually because you're having huge discussions over roles. That's really what's going down. People don't want to talk about roles. People don't want to be boxed into roles, so to speak. How dare you tell me what my role is? And so you have these huge arguments that start to happen. And so if you want to see when a society is about to break up, real easy, check out the role. I'm sorry, you said we would be gaslit for speaking truth and the oppressor would take the victim role. Yeah. And that's basically what happens. People were so excited while telling you that, still telling you Serena Williams was, basically a dude because she's a black woman with muscles. And so they told you she was a dude, a gorilla. I had a whole, well, now it's not on there anymore because they took down that TikTok page, but I had a whole thing up about Serena Williams comics. I'll try and see if I can find some and put them back up, where literally you could just look at what people were saying in regular news, like not tabloids, not this is supposed to be funny. Like this was, they were putting her as animals and stuff, making her look bad, giving her a huge nose, all these different things, saying she was a dude, right? And those same people that were doing that said, Caitlyn Jenner, you're woman of the year. I'm just saying, we got to look at it, be honest. I'm just saying we got to be, let's have honest conversation. I'm not saying I have to be 100% correct. I'm just telling you, I'm coming with context and facts. And if you coming to me, make sure you coming with context and facts. And I'm telling you, not just from what I see, I as a black man or I as a patriarch. I'm telling you what black women are telling me. I'm telling you what white women are telling me. I'm telling you what women in general are saying, that there is a problem. I'm telling you that there are women that play sports. There are little girls. It's affecting little girls. There are little girls. There are 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds that are losing in wrestling matches, that are losing in swimming in swim meets, that are losing in basketball games because they are being told that all women are women. And they think that they're going to play against women and they don't get to play against women. And I'm saying we need to have some kind of conversation about it. Does that make sense? People get mad. People have been dropping off now. The numbers have gone down because we start talking about it, but people don't want to have an honest conversation. Yeah. And then if a man says something specific, people got mad at Dave Chappelle because Dave Chappelle said, look, man, you know, Bruce Jenner or Caitlyn Jenner, whatever, all that stuff seems fine and everything. But he was like, I don't want to see him in a swimsuit. And everybody lost their mind. Oh, you're so this and that or whatever. Well, he's not into that. But what you've seen happen, and let's be honest, and look, moderators, y'all know y'all got to be with me on this today, okay? On all the platforms, all right? Like, but y'all, so be ready, right? But real talk, yeah, truth separates, right? Real talk, peep game. Now it's gotten to a place where what? You're part of the patriarchal society because you don't like trans women. You're not attracted to trans women. It's even you wouldn't date a trans woman. Matter of fact, it's become you won't even have sex with a trans woman. So you must be transphobic. I'm not saying everybody thinks like that. However, we're not going to deny that there are not a lot of people that think like that. Exactly. And so that's what I'm saying. Why not be trans woman? Why not play a sport that's for trans women? If you respect women, then stop doing things that are disrespectful to their sport. But it's not about respect for women. It's about, hey, this is something else I can colonize. Once again, I won't even say this is all trans women or trans men. And we haven't talked about trans men, right? But I've been focusing on that because that's one of the biggest things is there. But I won't even say all trans people even believe in what's going on. Because there's a lot of them that would agree with what I'm saying and say that, yeah, we should have our own place in sports because it's not fair. But where are you getting this from? Who is your source? Right. In the role of the pair, even roles. All right, trauma shaman. Even the roles. You're gonna start this and you're gonna roll out. No, I'm just playing with you. Right? But even the roles, right? It goes back to the roles. We don't want to have basic roles. We want structure, but not roles. It doesn't make you got to make it make sense for me. I want structure, but no role. I'm sorry, Coleman said I've come a long way from the way I was raised, which was put them all on an island and blow and blow it up. My wife says there are people that say you're transphobic if you don't want to date a trans person. Yeah, exactly. Right. Thank you, Sister Beverly. Yeah, we got to speak the truth. So just because we can do all things doesn't mean we should. Yeah, all things are not beneficial for me. Paul also talked about that. Not all things are expedient. Not all things are I can do whatever I want. I got the right to do it, but there's laws in place because not all things are going to benefit me. Somebody got the right. Look, as a sovereign, if I saw somebody on the street corner and they were smoking crack, they got the right to do it. But I wouldn't say that's the best thing for them. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not trying to say puts a trans person equal to a crackhead. That's why I made it a point to say I don't believe in equality. However, let's be honest, like that's contextually what we're saying. Somebody can do something like watch this. Do you think that it's natural, or do you think that it is natural? If we're talking natural medicine, let's go to natural medicine. Do you believe that it is natural for somebody to take something that's genetically modified? Yes or no? Like, let's make this plain as the nose is on our face. Do you believe that it is natural to eat something genetically modified? All right. And the answer for most of us is no. So if we don't believe that genetically modified food is natural, why would you genetically modify your body? Is it natural? I won't eat food that's not natural, but I will take away what I'm naturally built with. Right? If somebody said I'm gonna cut my arms off because I want to be a snake, hey, how you doing, Silver Loki? If somebody said I'm gonna cut my arms off because I believe I'm a snake, and people do stuff weird. Well, I won't even say weird. It's to each their own, right? But if people do stuff that we would say is very interesting, like to cut holes in the side of your mouth, to split your tongue so that it's forked, to have stuff done to the corners of your mouth so that it'd be wider, to make sure that your nose is messed with a little bit so it's lesser than, right? To make sure that you tattoo your whole face to ensure that it looks like it's a skin, right? And then basically do that, we would say, go get them. That's who you are. If you're a snake, if you're a dragon, if you're a beast, be who you are. It wasn't too long ago that we would said there's a mental issue with that. Not because you would dare say that you were, but to literally say, I'm going to mess with my body and do stuff that's not healthy for me. That's not healthy. To do things where your nostrils don't work the same way is not healthy. What Michael Jackson did to himself is not healthy. Right? But for somebody to do it and say, I'm a snake, we say, live your truth. That's not healthy. And because I say that, somebody says, oh, so you hate this person that does this. No, I love them. That's why I say it to them. And if I were talking to them one-on-one, I would, you know what? If the conversation started off with a handshake, I would still shake their hand. You thinking about moving to Belize because they have grapes with seeds in them? Okay. I would still shake their hand. This is the issue that people are trying to do. They're trying to conflate. They're trying to gaslight. Oh, so because you think that somebody shouldn't have the right to cut their body up, that they're, or I don't even say it's the right. Right? I believe there's laws in place that should make you think heavily about messing up those rights. You know, so you don't think because somebody's furry or somebody's furry and you don't agree with it, you think that they're a bad person? No, I think that they're doing something that might not be correct. Like there are people who have tried to be furries or try to dress like fish. Like this is real. I'm telling you truth. People who have tried to dress like fish and go into the water and have died of heat stroke before they even got into the water because you're not a fish. Like seriously. But people don't want to talk about this stuff. They just say, "Why are you talking?" Like, look, my question would be first and foremost, why do you find a fish better than you as a human being? And is it based on some things that are reality? Is it based on some things that are not? Like, there are some people that'll say, "Hey, I've given up all faith in humanity." So I could see you saying, "Well, maybe a fish is better than a human." Okay, let's start there with the dialogue. But to say that that means that I should say, well, since in your mind fish are better than humans, that you should become a fish, it doesn't, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense. Yeah, we have been taught to hate our features. You said, remember the cat lady had surgery. She had to look like a cat, lost in the sea. Matter of fact, let's make this not even animal. Let's go back to human beings. How many of y'all has seen the German woman who has dedicated her life to becoming a black woman? Y'all know who I'm talking about? Have y'all seen her face? I would show it to you, but the device I have here is really cracked up. You wouldn't even see it, right? You see what it said? There's a German woman, I believe she's German. I'm pretty sure she's German, who dedicated her life, who has gone to African tribes and tried to basically like have them accept her as black. And she's been laughed at because they were like, "What in the world is this?" They didn't even know. The tribe, forgive me, I can't remember the name of them right now. The one with that put, the red mud in their hair and stuff, and they have the locks that come down and stuff like that, and they end up having reddish skin on top of the blackish skin or whatever, but it becomes really dark red. Like, and she was injecting melanin or even fake melanin sometimes into herself to try and get herself, and she looks very odd. Why? Because that's not who she is, right? What about her has her so against herself that she needs to become black? See, I think that it's possible for a white woman to have self-love. What makes her loathe herself so much that she thinks that the best thing to do, oh, okay, it's the Messiah. Yeah, okay, thank you. Appreciate that, right? What makes her hate herself so much that she's actually going to come outside of herself? She's, by the way, she's had breast surgery. So it's not just that. She had nose surgery, she's had breast surgery, she's obviously had lip surgery, and she keeps, injecting collagen in to try and keep them thick. She's had surgery to make her butt look big, all these things, and she looks crazy. Not just to me, not just to the African tribe, not just to the Maasai, right? But she looks crazy trying to follow this. And it's showing that she has lack of love for herself. You hear what I'm saying? Is that she has lack of love for herself. You said you saw it too, Sister Deborah. Okay. And lack of love is lack of love. And people want me to come out and be like, oh, yeah, so all trans women are women too. Like, my wife is herself. And for the longest time, the same people that want to dress like her were the same people that were making fun of her and telling her, "Don't be black. Don't have nice curves. Don't have thick lips. Don't identify as that." Right? I've heard her story. I've heard our sister's stories. I've seen my mother's story, who was black but basically passed for white, and because she could, and her mother was even more so could pass for white, and that they had issues because she decided to get with a black person, and our families acted crazy because even though we both black. And I've seen the stuff that she had to go through as a woman, a black woman who wasn't black enough, making sure that she had this dark skinned son. My brother and my sister, they look what you would call mixed, like they look mixed race. People use that term. They actually look it. I don't really, well, if you see my mother, you'll actually see that I have a lot of features that look like hers. But a lot of people don't assume so because they haven't seen, they'll see her as being light. So we would be right next to each other. They would think that she wasn't even my mother or that she had adopted me or something like that. Right. But like, we have this, so we're the same, so we have these features or whatever and everything. And I saw her as a black woman have to go through all this stuff, struggle, make sure her husband was as great as he could be before she couldn't take it anymore. Her body started giving out on her. I saw her pass away on her hospital bed, speaking as a woman to her son. And then somebody says to me, "Hey, that woman is the same as somebody that can't give birth to you." If you don't get out my face with that, I'm sorry to say it like that, but for real, if you don't get out my face with that, the challenges that my mother had to have just to make sure she gave birth to me. I was 9 pounds, 9 ounces, so tall that I had two left feet. They had to break my right foot. I still have like this weird thing. If you look at my ankle enough, I have this weird thing that happens with my ankle. They had to break my right foot just to make sure that I could come into the earth. That came through her vagina, right? And somebody saying, I get to be the same as you. You hear what I'm saying? I'm the same as you. No, you're not. Right? I saw my wife give birth to our child. You are not the same. I've seen my wife, right? Watch this. The trans woman who's always talking about getting beat up and stuff like that. I've seen my wife and I've heard my wife and I've had my wife call me on the phone to talk to me, right? While she's in the dark, just walking to her car, worried about if somebody's gonna walk up on her or not. You talking about getting beat up or this or that. Like women sometimes are afraid to go down the streets to go to the store because there's gonna be some dude there that's gonna catcall and catcall and might turn into something else. If you want to talk about the patriarchy, let's talk about how patriarchal it is. Let's talk about the idea of patriarchy to where you believe that you're going to put that on the same level. Oh, well, there's been trans women that have been beat up because they're trans women. True that. How many black people have been hanging from trees? You gonna give us that law, or you gonna keep fighting for the trans woman law? Maybe you should fight for both. If you say that we're all equal, but you don't fight for both. You fight for the trans woman, but you still allow grandmama to be hanging from a tree. That just happened not too long ago. What, last month? 2 months ago? Somebody grandmama hanging. And I ain't seen nothing about let's make sure that we stop black hate. Y'all were cool with stop Asian hate though. You said you just saw her on YouTube. She said she's changing her body. It's like boys tuning up their car. I never heard that. Rachel Dolezal was another one. Yeah. You said he mutes the truth. I always mute the truth. What are you talking about? Said I'm from South Africa and the presence of Democrats in the White House is being felt this far. I mean, probably is. But it doesn't matter if it's Republicans, Democrats, Americans, CIA, right? We y'all I was gonna say we, because I do have a little bit of South African blood in me, but I can't claim it per se. But our people have been dealing with that, since Fidel Castro was trying to make sure that he fought for us over there. That's why you can't be a Republican or a Democrat. Who cares? It's our problem, sweet. Thank you. We are fearfully and wonderfully made, sure. And we should respect all the wonders of how we're made. Yeah, the Kardashians did all but their skin. And by the way, the Kardashians have painted themselves black. At least Kim has, right? And they made sure that they used black husbands. They got black babies. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like it's this thing of, if once again, like who is your source? And we can bring it back, kind of what the idea of yesterday into today is, right? Where are you getting this stuff from that tells you to defend your people is reverse racist? Right? At the end of the day, where did we get this thing from that said to tell our story, to tell the story and not his story, is reverse racist? Why do people hear me say the Bible and they immediately say, why are you trying to be white? Where did it come from? Who told you that? What is the source? Where did it come from? That's ultimately what I'm trying to get us to establish here, to reestablish, right? You got to start seeing who put this in position. Who in the 1700s, up to the 1700s rather, would take over your people, write on a map that the scattered tribes of Israel were down there and that the kingdom of Judah was down there, and then would tell you that you're not an Israelite. Who does that? May I say that again, just in case you need to do some research on it, right? Or if you want to come to YouTube and look at it, this is around the 159 mark. All right. Who would tell you who's going to be the person who would write on a map that you are the scattered people of Israel and that the kingdom of Judah is over there where the slave castles now are, that you can still visit to this day? Who would tell you that that's you? And then later on in the late 1800s, and then especially in the early 1900s, start telling you that you're not Israel, and that people who are in Europe, not in Africa where you said it was, the people in Europe, the people who owned the scattered Israelites as slaves, they told you that those people are you. Who did that? Was that you? See, that's what I was talking about with the patriarchy. Am I saying that we are not holding some values if we're not careful? Are we still holding some values that are patriarchal as far as systemically speaking, the white people or whatever, if you want to use that social construct? Of course, we're holding some of those values if we're not careful. But I'm not going to go as far as to say that I am part of the patriarchy and I don't have the land to back that up. I don't have the capital to back that up. I don't have the city to back that up. When we get our own land, if I start mistreating women, okay, now put me in the patriarchy. Now say I'm the same. Now make it equal. Even though you still can't make it equal because we're not equal, but say that we believe in the same thing. Yeah, the Satan is the author of cultural appropriation. Yeah, telling you that the kingdom is something that belongs to him, and everything that I say the kingdom is what it's supposed to be. You're dealing with the same type of mentality. What is the source of that? The source is ultimately demonic. We're fighting each other over something that's ultimately demonic because we wrestle not against flesh and blood. See, that scripture's been coming up so much, right? I don't even have to get into the high places, the powers, the darkness, the rulers in places, all this stuff. I can just simply say, yo, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities. You said, what's dope about my question or statement? Right? What I guess what's the problem with my question or statement? Are you saying that's dope? I don't know. You said what's dope about my question and statement? Is there a problem with it that you have? Feel free to just say the problem if you would like. Is CRT slowing being made to illegal? I don't comprehend what's going on. What do you mean? Is CRT slowing? No, no, it's not a problem. Okay. I just don't comprehend the word. Is CRT is slowing being made to illegal? You're talking about um wow. I'm sorry, the momentum. I don't know what that word was escaping me. You said that you are you saying that oh, thank you, Mayhew. Are you saying the momentum is slowing down? Is it becoming illegal to be taught? Um, I'm gonna tell you this, man. CRT has always been illegal. I mean, people don't know how to make it legal because you could just simply petition people. If you just petition people, you can teach whatever you want. Just about. That's why they teach, people who are um, devil worshippers. They leave literature at schools for children to pick up. Like that's not even a made up thing. Like you could actually go to certain schools and there's devil worship literature there. I think in the state of Virginia, matter of fact, which is very interesting because that's where I went to high school. You can do that. But but yeah, there's a lot of stuff. You said the first part of your statement and the second part. Okay. Do I have a Discord community? No, I don't have Discord. I don't even really know how Discord works. I tried to do Discord with somebody else a long time ago, and we were supposed to use it to do a thing where people of different political beliefs or whatever were going to come together and do some stuff, and we never did it. So I'd have to look up how Discord works, but then I'd have to have time to use it, unless maybe we can do Discord at the same time. But then that means again I got to have multiple devices that I really don't have access to that. So yeah, Kingdom of Judah, they call it the slave coast. Yeah, I've been to the castles. That's I've been over there. And yeah, well, I'll leave that there. We can go somewhere else. Amen. Yeah, we do have Patreon and stuff as well. So you said don't mind assisting with the Discord. I mean, we can try it. I'm definitely gonna need help because I just don't know how to use it. But we're trying to right now we're trying to get some project management stuff in order. Come next week, we're going to be running a lot better on a lot of different things. So then I'll actually be able to say who can help with what and how we do this, and make sure got stuff in order so I know who can get to me. And if you can't get to me, somebody else can represent, blah, 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 whatever. Like, we're doing a lot. So I need to make sure certain things are back on track. But yeah, Discord is something we can look at. I'd like to look at as many things as possible. Um, Matter of fact, if somebody's able to help me just cover one of the main things we need to come up with is something that if I can just use, for example, if we can have a device set up to where I can do a live using just one device, but be on, 5, 6, 7 platforms at the same time, that would be great as well. That would take care of a lot of the stuff, because all I really would need after that would really be like 2, 3 devices tops to be able to do the stuff we really want to do and reach the people we really want to reach. So, hopefully we get all those things together. Um, and have those things together in a bit. But first things first, we got to get things back on track as far as how we're doing. You said first things first. Do I know how to celebrate first fruits? I mean, first fruits, as far as like, it's not something specific that we have to celebrate in a particular manner. Matter of fact, it's not even something that's like an actual Hebrew holy day, but it's something that people upkeep. So I don't get into the argument of first fruit. First fruit is almost like kind of like it's not the same thing exactly, but it's kind of like, what's that one that everybody celebrates where Queen Esther, they get mad at me because I don't celebrate it. Queen Esther's thing. And celebrating what happened with them. Um, what's that one? Wow. Quorum, right? Purim. I said Quorum, Purim. And people get mad. Why don't you celebrate Purim? I had a whole person. There's a person that actually started a YouTube channel and does very well for themselves, actually doing better than us now, because one of the reasons we got canceled, but just doing way better than us as far as numbers. And they started off a hashtag find Kofi and then telling people why they were like, oh, he was very mean to me and he was rude and he wouldn't answer my question. And I kept asking him for a few days, and finally he blocked me and blah, blah. And I didn't even block him. They got blocked by somebody else because they were saying some heinous stuff. But they started a whole page, a YouTube page on me. And the reason they started was because I wasn't going to celebrate Purim. And I was like, well, Purim is not something that is mandated in the Bible. It's not mandated in Tanakh. It's not mandated at all by our people. It's a Jewish custom and tradition. And if you actually wanted to celebrate Purim, I mean, you could, but just don't say that you have to do it according to the Bible. But it's kind of like the same thing. So first fruits get into this weird argument where people are arguing about how to do it, or if we should do a blah, blah, or even what first fruits are. And then if people get into first fruits as far as how do you do first fruits as far as tithing and offering. And a lot of it has to do with more so tradition than what the Bible actually has to say. So to be honest with you, I wouldn't really deal with first fruits because it's not something I'm commanded to do per se. It's something that's nice, and your tithes should be your first fruits if you want to go as far as tithing and stuff. But as far as the day, holiday, feasting, all these different things, it's more traditional than it is, commanded. And by the way, traditions can be commanded. You know what I'm saying? But I'm talking about like it's not really something that's there. You said Discord allows you to share resources, links, files, messages, etc., in a safe environment. No, like I said, I don't really know about it, so we can look into it. I wouldn't even start looking into it probably until not this week, but the week of the 16th of May, because then we'll have some things in place that would allow me to actually have time, consistency, and maybe have somebody else who can like do some research on it with you, and you guys can actually we can maybe do a meeting or something, with my wife and I, and actually hear what Discord is. But I just don't know how to use it. He said, if we are in our own land, first fruits would be done because it deals with agriculture. That too, you know, setting something off, zoning something off, making sure that people can get to a specific thing, and so kind of sort of like in a sense, like if you're going to do first fruits outside of that, and you're going to make it just something that you do holistically or in every area, like this is first fruits. You know what I'm saying? Like this is first fruits. So, I get my first fruit I can, or a big chunk of my day and things of that nature is going to be dedicated to making sure that Israel comprehends what we should. So, but we're working on it, and that's why we ask people to help us out with YLP 83. We still have room. We still need help. If people want to, help in as far as making chip in as far as us getting the land and making sure we can get it and donating and all that stuff, like we still need help. We're believing, I'm still believing for October. That's the goal. That was the goal we put out there, is that we believe that if we had 30 families that would come together, and all 30, we could have at least 30 of them give at least 1,000 a day. Even though prices on land have gone, I'm not 1,000 a day. Sorry, 1,000 over a year. The belief was is that if we can get 30 people, 30 families, not even 30 people, 30 families to do it. If we had 100, imagine if we had 100 families and over a year they give 1,000, or by October 1st everybody was able to give 1,000. That's $100,000. We can go pretty much anywhere and say we want this, and it'd be done. We were just asking for 30. So we can have something to start on and hopefully get, bare minimum 30 to 50 acres. And it's possible in the places that everybody wants to go. It might not be as possible, but we believe it'll be possible, but there's places out there, you'd have to go places to where people might not be comfortable being. But, there's places out there like in Montana and other places where you'd be surprised how people trying to give land away. You'd be surprised. Right. So I'm just saying, and I'm not saying we got to switch our place. I'm just saying that in general, right? Like, but it comes back to, once again, what's the source? What's your reasoning for it? What are you willing to do? All these different things, etc. Right? But all these things we're talking about, once again, and we'll get ready to take our leave. All these things we've been speaking on is coming from, from law. It's coming from what we believe. Yeah, there are whole towns for sale. That's going to be a little bit more than 100,000. But some of them, heck, like one of the places my wife and I were looking at a long time ago. This was for our personal usage. We were looking at a place that was, I want to say 14, 13 acres, 14 acres, maybe 17, something like that, but somewhere in there, in the teens acreage, and it basically just been abandoned for a while. So, but it had a old mall, it had an old school, it had a house on there. I mean, a mall. That's places for people to live right there. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was an old mall, you had an old school, and you had an old home. Well, we could talk about the land more offline. There's certain things that I don't feel comfortable talking about out in public. But if you want to talk more offline, feel free to get in contact with us, and we'll give you more information about it. You can look at if you're on TikTok, since you're asking the question from TikTok, just go on TikTok and look at our where it says website. Click on that. That's our link tree, and find a way to get in contact with us. Somebody will get back in contact with you ASAP, and we can have conversation about it and realize what's going on, learn about it. And if it's something that interests you, feel free to be part of it. We tell you how it came to be and all that stuff. We can make sure that you comprehend what's going on, make sure that you see it's a legitimate business plan, make sure that you see that there's actually legitimate EIN and all that stuff, and that we're looking at stuff as far as sovereignty, and we teach classes on it and all those different things. But those are the things that we're trying to do right now. We're just trying to at least get that land, make sure that it's private. Once you make sure it's private, it's sovereign. Once you make sure it's sovereign, you can make sure it's under a religious sect. Once it's under a religious sect, you can make sure you start getting rid of social security numbers. Once you get rid of that stuff, you live different. You can still go out. You can still, matter of fact, some people are going to choose to help out with the land and maybe not live there 24/7. Maybe live there a couple months a year or something like that, or maybe have it there. And if somebody else uses their spot or whatever, be on there. That's fine. And matter of fact, eventually the goal is going to be to open it up to more and more people as we build more and more on the land. And then that land, have food, different things we're doing. You sell stuff on there, you'll be able to take it to another place. But yeah, there's quite a few places. But you got to have it first. So the goal is to get it first. And then once we get it, then we can start, okay, we're going to build this on there. We're going to have this on there. We're going to make sure this type of technology is on there. We're going to teach this on there. We're going to do, and those are all things that are legal. Right, we're gonna do everything according to the law, so that nobody can come on that land. As long as you're doing things according to the law, people that are sovereign, they obey the law better than everybody else. So we're gonna make sure as soon as we everything that we're gonna talk about doing is gonna be on paper. When we sign the documentation, we're saying we're getting this land. It's gonna be on there. We're using it for this. It's gonna be private, right? It's gonna be owned by this group. It's gonna be this and that, blah blah. All this stuff. It's gonna be intended for everybody to be able to come on. These are the laws of the land. This is what we believe on, stuff from marriage to whatever. It will all be listed out. Once again, if you want to find out about it, go to, if you're on TikTok asking that question, if you're on YouTube or the podcast, all you got to do is just look on the stuff that's always in the description box. But if you're on TikTok, just go to our main page, or go to our TikTok page and look up website. And when you click on the website, that's our link tree. As soon as that pops up, that gives you all types of information. Contact us. and we have tons of room. So if you're somebody, we already got somebody who's going to be dealing with, construction and stuff. If you want to work with them, if you do construction, I'm pretty sure he wouldn't mind you helping them out. If you're somebody, if you're somebody that wants to help out as far as, um, growing food and stuff. My wife, she's a herbalist, and she's going to be heading that up. If you're somebody that deals in healing, we got a few people that do in healing. If you're somebody that wants to help us as far as putting together products for better health and things like that, we have quite a few people that sell products and do things like that, right? So, like we said, all you got to do is just contact us and let us know, and we'll make sure that we get that information to you ASAP. We're hoping and praying that we'll finally be back on track with our YLP 83, Y'all's Land Project 83 meeting. Maybe this next Saturday, but we're just trying to get some project management stuff together first. And once we get that together, and my wife and I, we've had some conversations, so we're on one accord with a lot of stuff that we need to make sure we were on one accord with. And now we're trying to make sure with the admin team that we now, newly shaped, we're trying to make sure that gets together. So once we get that, we'll be back on track with the meetings. So, but if you want to talk about that a little bit before or something like that, let us know. You said you spent 27 years in telecom and now requires vax and booster to work. I mean, that's what people say, but there's paperwork that can be done. But we're gonna get ready to take our leave. It's getting up to the 3-hour mark. So we've been on for a little bit, you know. But if you betting on yourself and moving or going to something greater, hey, praise Yah. Do the dag thing. Do the daggone thing. I can't say what I used to say. But you know what I'm saying. Right. But thank you guys for being on. We appreciate it. We appreciate you. From all the corners, from all 4 corners of the earth and everything in between. Thank you for being on. This has been a lot of greatness coming on. We thank you. I'm excited. So for the month of May, I'm not sure what's going to happen, but starting next month, for those who are going to be part of Shabbat Shalom podcast, our ministerial staff is going to be taking over, whether they speak every time or whether they delegate to other people. So my wife is going to start next month, and I'm excited to see where she goes and what she's going to be doing. And so we'll see what we're going to talk about, and we appreciate her. So that'll be starting this Shabbat coming up. Was that May the 7th? May the 7th. So join us May the 7th for that. Starting next to the month of June, I'm not 100% sure who's going to be taking over that. In July, we're going to have Minister Anais, and then we're going to have other ministerial staff be ready to step in after that. So I'm going to be taking a little break away, unless, of course, they delegate and they say, Pastor Kofi, you have to preach on such and such a day or speak on such and such a day. I'll be ready. But other than that, be ready to be in line and order this month. Yeah, baby, right. I'm sorry. Today is May 1st, which also means this Friday, which will be May 6th. Please, man, please, sir, it's the first Friday of the month. Make sure that you are a blessing to somebody out in your community. We try to make sure that everywhere we go, every month, every first Friday, you don't have to check in with me. You don't have to tell me. You don't have to send me pictures. Just, hey, somebody needs help. Please be a blessing to them. You'd be surprised how much $5 might be in somebody's pocket, or smiling with somebody or talking to somebody that you see. I've had times where when I used to be on the train all the time, you go on the train and I'd see people crying quite often. And I didn't do it all the time, but a couple times I just go over, you all right, and have a conversation, and that person feels better. So feel free to go into the community and be a blessing to somebody. Tomorrow, Monday, we're back on track. Those who are doing early riser Bible study session. Oh, wow. Thank you, Naya. I've never seen that one before. So I guess it's new for the month of May. So there you go. Those who are early riser Bible study session, we will be on tomorrow. In the rising, I'll probably be on the road traveling, but we'll make sure we're on Zoom. So if you want to be part of the early riser Bible study session, join us, and we'll be back on track. Classes should be something that I'll start posting as far as what they are, or I'll start making sure we talk about what they are. I can tell you for sure, we are bringing Sovereignty 1 back. We are bringing back Hebrew characters. The other 5, or well, I don't even know it's going to be 5 this time. Maybe the other 4 or 3 possibly, because we need to get some stuff in order. The other ones will be we probably bring back our class on marriage, but the next 2, whether my wife is going to be teaching 2 or 1, The next two are up for grabs right now because people have asked us. I still don't know if I'll be able to put it together. Well, we might just have to put the curriculum together as we're going on this one. I hate to do that because normally I like to make sure you guys know what the curriculum is. But people have been asking about, can we talk about how biblical laws came into place or talk about how biblical law works? And so in the sense that's kind of a sovereignty class, but but I kind of like it as almost a prerequisite. Really, technically, we probably should talk about that before we got into sovereignty. So maybe we'll do that, but we'll look into it. And we're thankful and grateful for everybody for this opportunity. Um, if we do have something extra, we might just talk about finances in general or business admin, something along that. But more than but we saw what you guys said as far as classes you might like to take or different things like that when you did your what do you call it? Your survey. If you took the survey. So we're thankful and grateful for that. But just keep an eye on that. Like I said, I'm trying to keep the announcements in general as low as possible until about the end of next week, where we'll have certain things in place and back in order and where stuff moves, whether I'm a part of it or not. So I'll just putting that out, but I won't go too much deeper in that. We are still meeting October 14th through the 16th. And if you are coming, I know a lot of you told us you're coming, but please let us know for sure if you're coming. I think we should have sent out I'm going to double check today because I haven't really gotten much back. So I'm going to send out again the survey specifically for October 14th through the 16th if you're coming. So I'll try to send that out again just to make sure that everybody has it in case for some reason it didn't get out. And then thank you in advance to Sister Tracy once again and to Sister Kimberly, who have been waiting for me to get this stuff in order. But I was basically giving you a lot of stuff that had no order. So I just want to make sure we work it better. So we'll be in touch with you guys soon. We'll see you guys tomorrow. If I see you tomorrow for early riser Bible study session, see you at 6:30. If I see you, um, after that, we're on every we're on every day at 8 a.m. Eastern New York time. We're on every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern New York time. We're on every Tuesday for those who are on Patreon at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern New York time. And other than that, thank you. We appreciate you. We honor you. Have a great day. This is the first day of the week. So take time out to meditate, to pray, to think about love and love for one another and love for self. Thank you, Kayan, for being part of the community. If I said that correctly, I'm not sure. Kayana, I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. Um, but thank you for being part of the community. And we hope that you study this word and meditate on it so that you're not only hearers of this word, you can be doers as well. Once again, we give all praise and honor to the Most High. All praise and honor to the Most High for my wife, the Honorable Maya, who lives a life that's able to be honored. You can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, and her website and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A-N-D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She's a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree for those that need that extra oomph on there, okay? Thank you so much. We appreciate you. We honor you, and we look forward to talking to you soon. And as always, this has been Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. And until I have the next chance to be before you, please remember that you are loved, you are necessary, you are majestic, you are fearfully and wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shalom. Peace.